You know that moment your whole life splits into before and after? Mine started with the sound of my own bones hitting concrete. Rain slapped the asphalt in rigid, icy sheets as my husband's car screeched away, red taillights smearing into the night like a wound that wouldn't close. For a second, I just lay there in the alley, stunned, cheek pressed against filthy, oil-slick pavement, tasting metal and blood and betrayal. Then the pain arrived. White, hot, blinding. Get up, Lila, I told myself, or maybe I just thought it. My voice sounded far away, like it belonged to someone stronger. You're not dying here. Not like this. A broken laugh slipped out anyway, because this was precisely how Ethan had always promised it would end if I ever crossed him. He kept his word. Minutes earlier, I'd been in the passenger seat of his glossy black BMW, the leather smelling like money and secrets. I thought we were going to dinner. We were dressed for it. My silver dress still clung to me, sequins winking under the street lamp as if mocking me for believing in pretty things. Instead, he'd driven us to the industrial side of town, to a dead-end alley where the city forgot to care. He'd dragged me out of the car by my hair. No theatrics, no long monologue, just cold fury in blue eyes I used to compare to summer skies. You went through my safe, he said, each word a bullet. You stole from me. I hadn't stolen. I'd taken photos, evidence, numbers and names and offshore accounts I didn't understand, but knew the FBI would. Insurance, I'd thought. Protection from the man who owned my life. He'd found out. I'd started, but the first blow had already landed. Knuckles across my cheek. The second slammed into my ribs. The third never came. Because I hit the ground and didn't get back up. Now, lying there in the aftermath, I could still hear his final sentence, hissed into my ear as he knelt beside me, fingers tightening around my jaw. I told you, Lila, you're mine or you're nothing. Apparently, nothing looked a lot like a 28-year-old woman bleeding into a gutter behind a shuttered warehouse. The rain grew colder. Or maybe I did. Cars passed on the main road beyond the alley mouth. Too far to see me. Too loud to hear me. My fingers twitched, searching for my phone, for anything. But Ethan had taken it, along with my wallet, my wedding ring, my last illusion that I mattered. I tried to roll onto my back. Pain exploded along my left side, bright and sharp. Something in my chest crackled like broken glass. Okay, broken ribs, maybe worse. Adrenaline started to ebb, leaving a trembling, nauseous void in its place. My vision tunneled, edges blurred. The night pressed closer, thick and heavy, whispering that it would be easier to close my eyes. Sleep, drift, disappear. Somewhere, a door slammed. A man laughed. Heavy footsteps echoed off the brick. The sounds bounced strangely around the alley, distant and close at the same time. I told myself to be afraid. Instead, I just felt tired. The footsteps stopped. Silence stretched, taut and electric. Then a low voice cut through the rain. Deep, smooth, carrying the kind of authority that made people obey before they even understood why. "What the hell?" the voice said quietly. "Happened to you, Bella?" A shadow blocked the weak light from the street. Expensive shoes stepped into my blurred line of sight. Not Ethan's polished Oxfords. Different. Darker. Italian leather. Rain beating on them like they were offended by the weather itself. I blinked, forcing my eyes upward. The man hovering over me looked like sin tailored in charcoal wool. Tall. Broad-shouldered. Black coat open over a suit that probably cost more than my car. His hair was dark and damp, rain spiking the strands. His jaw was cut sharply enough to draw blood. But it was his eyes that pinned me in place. Storm gray, calm, assessing, and underneath that calm, something lethal coiled tight. Not panic, not pity, calculation. My voice came out broken. A cough tore through me, dragging blood to my lips. I fell. His mouth twitched, the ghost of a humorless smile. "Everyone lies," he said. "Some people are just worse at it than others." A second figure appeared behind him, broader, built like a wall in a black hoodie and tactical boots. The big man's gaze swept the alley, hand resting near the outline of a gun beneath his jacket. "Boss," he said, "we should move. This area's not clean." Boss. The word echoed through my foggy head, lighting up half-remembered whispers from Ethan's business calls. The name he never said, but everyone else did, in low, careful tones. The man in front of me crouched, expensive coat brushing dirty concrete without a flicker of concern. Rain slid over his shoulders like it didn't dare touch him. "Look at me," he ordered softly. I tried. The world tilted. His hand came up, fingers warm and strong as they framed my face, thumb brushing away rain or blood, or both from my cheek. "What's your name?" Part of me wanted to lie, to shrink, to vanish, to become nobody. Nobody got hunted. Nobody dragged danger toward the people they loved. But something in his voice cut through the fear, through the exhaustion. "Lila," I whispered. "Lila Hart." His eyes sharpened at my last name. "Hart?" he repeated slowly. "That would make you Ethan Hart's wife." Past tense slipped out before I could stop it. "Was," I rasped. For a heartbeat, the rain was the only sound. Then his gaze drifted down my ruined dress, to the bruises already blooming under the street lamp's sickly light. Something changed in his face. The calm stayed. The calculation stayed. But a new layer slid underneath, cold and violent. "Who did this to you, Lila?" he asked. I stared up at the stranger who radiated power and danger. The kind of man my husband did business with from a safe distance but never wanted to owe. The kind of man Ethan had once called a rabid dog in a suit, right before saying, "If he ever looks your way, you run, do you hear me? You run." I remembered the taste of my own blood as Ethan's fist smashed into my mouth. The way his car engine had roared as he left me in the dark without looking back. "My husband," I said, voice shaking. "Ethan." His jaw flexed. "One more question," he murmured. "Did he intend for you to die in my streets? Or for me to find you?" The world swam. Somewhere far away, sirens wailed, growing faint, then closer again, as if the city couldn't decide whether to care. "I don't—" My throat closed. Tears burned hot tracks down my cold skin. "I don't know." He studied me for a long, unhurried moment. Then he stood in one smooth movement, turning his head slightly toward the big man behind him. "Call the doctor," he said, "and tell the boys we're paying Mr. Hart a visit." His gaze dropped back to mine, and this time there was no question in it. Only decision. "You're not dying in my gutter, Lila Hart," he said quietly. "From this moment on, no one touches you without my permission." The darkness rushed up to meet me, warm and endless. The last thing I felt was strong arms lifting me, effortless and sure, like I weighed nothing at all. The last thing I heard was his final, lethal promise, murmured against my hair as the alley vanished. "Your husband just made you my problem, and I don't share what's mine." Warmth. That was the first thing I felt. Not comfort, not safety, just warmth. A deep, enveloping heat that contrasted so violently with the freezing rain that my brain couldn't process it. Then came the smell. Clean linen, antiseptic. A hint of cedar and smoke that didn't belong to any hospital I'd ever visited. My eyelids felt glued shut, heavy as stone. When I finally pried them open, the world resolved into soft lamplight and a ceiling far too ornate to belong in a public building. Crown molding curved elegantly along the edges, the gold trim catching light in a quiet, expensive glow. This wasn't a hospital. I wasn't dead. At least I didn't think so. A low hum vibrated in the room. Machines, I realized after a second. Medical equipment. A heart monitor beeped steadily beside me, its calm rhythm completely at odds with the panic rising in my chest. I tried sitting up. The attempt sent lightning through my ribs, and a choked cry ripped from my throat. Immediately, footsteps approached, firm, controlled, familiar. "Slowly, Bella, you're still broken." I froze, that voice. Deep, smooth, authoritative. The same one that had dragged me back from the edge of unconsciousness in the alley. He stepped into view like he owned the room. Like he owned the whole world. The man from the alley. The one they called boss. the one whose presence filled space like gravity. But in the soft light of the bedroom, because yes, it was a bedroom, enormous and luxurious, and definitely not mine, he looked even more dangerous. His dark hair was slightly tousled, his sleeves rolled up, revealing forearms marked with faint scars and veins that spoke of a life lived far from peace. His eyes met mine, steel gray, sharp, unreadable. "You're awake." It wasn't a question. I tried to wet my lips, but they were cracked and dry. "Where am I?" "My home," he answered. "You were in no condition to be taken anywhere else." "Home? As in his house?" "Why?" I whispered, heart kicking harder against the monitor. "Why would you bring me here?" He didn't answer immediately. Instead, he took a slow step closer, then another, moving with the kind of controlled, deliberate grace that made heat crawl up my spine. When he reached the side of the bed, he stopped. Close enough to touch, but not leaning in, not looming. Just watching, studying me like I was an equation he intended to solve. "Because someone tried to kill you," he said quietly. "In my territory. And that makes it my concern." My voice cracked. "Ethan didn't try to kill me. He left you in the street to bleed out." His tone cooled several degrees. "Whether that was incompetence or intention makes no difference." I swallowed hard. The bruises along my throat pulsed. "You don't even know me." Something flickered in his eyes. Not softness. He didn't seem like a man capable of that, but something close to recognition. "No," he murmured, "but I know your husband." A shiver crawled down my arms. Are you going to hurt him?" A slow breath. A darker shift in his expression. "That depends." "On what?" "On whether he meant for you to end up on my doorstep," he said, "or whether he simply didn't care if you lived or died." Both possibilities twisted my stomach. I opened my mouth to ask more, to beg him not to escalate, to explain, to do anything except watch my life get swallowed whole. But a second figure stepped into the room. A man in his mid-50s, glasses perched low on his nose, wearing a white button-up and a practiced expression of calm. "Good," the older man said. "She's awake. Try not to sit up yet, dear. You have 2 cracked ribs and significant bruising, but no internal bleeding." I blinked, disoriented. "You're a doctor?" "A personal one," the boss replied. "Discreet, loyal, hard to buy." Hard to buy? What kind of people needed doctors who couldn't be bought unless they belonged to? The realization hit me like another blow to the ribs. "You're mafia," I whispered. The doctor paused, the air stilled. Then the boss gave a small, humorless smile. "I prefer the term businessmen, but yes, Lila, I am the one your husband does favors for, pays tributes to, fears." My blood ran cold. "And now," he continued, eyes locking on mine, "you are in my protection, whether you want to be or not." My breath stuttered. "I don't understand. Why me?" He leaned closer, not touching me, but close enough that the warmth of him softened the edge of fear just a little. "Because no one bleeds in my streets without consequence," he said softly. "Because your husband crossed a line." A beat, and then lower, quieter. "And because the moment I saw you, I knew one thing with absolute certainty." I held my breath. "You were not meant to belong to a man like him." The heart monitor beeped faster. His gaze flicked to the machine, then back to me, a hint of amusement ghosting across his mouth. "Rest, Lila," he murmured. "We will speak again when you're stronger." He turned to leave, but at the doorway he paused. "Oh," he added, voice smooth as silk and sharp as a blade. "And Lila?" I forced out a shaky yes. He didn't look back when he spoke the words that would change everything. "From this moment forward, you are under my protection, untouchable. Anyone who lays a hand on you answers to me." The door clicked shut behind him, and for the first time since the alley, I realized I wasn't afraid of dying anymore. I was afraid of what my life would become now that a mafia king had claimed me as his own. Night in his mansion didn't feel like night. It felt like suspension, like time itself held its breath around me. Hours passed in a blur of quiet footsteps, muffled voices outside the door, and the soft rhythmic beep of the heart monitor. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw Ethan's face. Every time I opened them, I saw the boss's instead. And between those two men, I didn't know which future terrified me more. I drifted in and out of restless sleep until the door clicked open again, so softly it barely made a sound. A young woman entered, dark hair braided neatly down her back, wearing black slacks and a crisp white shirt. She carried a tray with a bowl of soup, fresh linens, and small bottles of medication. Her smile was warm, disarming. "Good morning, Mrs. Hart." "Please," I cut in softly. "Just Lila. And I'm not really a Hart anymore." Her eyes softened with sympathy. "Lila, then. I'm Anna. The boss asked me to stay with you today." The boss. Even thinking the title felt dangerous. "Is he here?" I asked before I could stop myself. Anna's smile twitched. Not mocking, just knowing. "He's always here," she said. "Even when you don't see him." My heart dipped and lifted at the same time. "He doesn't seem like someone who watches over strangers," I whispered. Anna's hands paused. She studied me for a moment too long, as if debating whether she was allowed to say what she wanted to say. "Boss doesn't take in strays," she said finally. "Not ever. But you," a faint smile, "you're not a stray. You're something that made him stop walking." Before I could ask what that meant, a deep voice behind her answered for her. "Anna." Anna stiffened slightly, bowed her head once, and slipped out in an instant. And then he walked in. The air changed when he entered. Thickened, sharpened, pulled tight like a violin string tuned just before a performance. His presence didn't dominate the room. It claimed it. He wasn't wearing a suit this time. Black slacks. A dark Henley with the sleeves pushed up. Casual, but somehow more lethal. He stopped at the edge of the bed, gray eyes scanning me with the kind of intensity that checked for wounds, lies, and threats, all at once. "You slept," he noted. It wasn't a question. A little, I admitted. "I'm still sore." "You will be," he said simply. "Healing takes time." Silence stretched between us, not awkward but dense, charged. I licked my lips nervously, and his gaze followed the movement like it was something he hadn't meant to notice, but couldn't ignore. "Why do you keep coming to check on me?" I asked quietly. His jaw flexed, a subtle movement, but telling. "Because," he said, "you are under my protection." "That's not a reason," I pressed softly. "That's a command." A slow, dangerous smile touched the corner of his mouth. "You're right, it is." He sat down in the chair beside my bed, his posture relaxed, but his eyes never straying far from mine. "Your husband," he began, voice low, "is panicking." My breath stopped. "He knows you're alive. He also knows you're with me." Cold fear rippled through my chest. "What is he going to do?" "Nothing," the boss said, calm as winter. "He's not stupid enough to make the first move now." I swallowed. "And you? What are you going to do?" He leaned in, elbows resting on his knees. For the first time, the mask of the Mafia King slipped, just barely. Enough for something honest to flicker through. "I'm going to find out why he left you in my alley," he said, voice dark silk. "Why did he beat you? Why did he think you were disposable?" I felt small beneath the weight of that focus, but not helpless. Seen but not hunted. "Maybe he didn't think," I whispered. "Maybe he just snapped." "No," he said immediately. "Men like him don't snap. They calculate. They weigh outcomes." His eyes locked onto mine. He knew leaving you half dead wouldn't go unnoticed. He knew I don't tolerate mess in my streets. So either he wanted you gone, a pause, or he wanted me involved. My stomach twisted. "But why involve you in our marriage? He barely even said your name." "Oh, he said it," the boss murmured. "He just didn't want you saying it back." A chill swept over me. Ethan had always forbidden me from attending business dinners, from meeting his associates, from even knowing the structure of his world. He'd said it was safer that way. Now I wasn't so sure. "What's your name?" I blurted, the question escaping on instinct. His brows lifted, the tiniest sign of surprise. "No one has asked me that in a very long time." "I want to know who saved me," I said softly. He studied me for a long, slow moment. Then he spoke. Adrian. The name fit him. Sharp, structured, beautiful in a dangerous way. Adrian what? I whispered. A dark, velvety chuckle left him, the kind that wasn't amused so much as intrigued. If I give you my last name, Bella, he murmured, you will never be able to walk away from me. My pulse stumbled. I'm not sure I can walk away now, I admitted, voice trembling with truth. He went still, completely, utterly still. Then his hand rose, slow, deliberate, until his fingers brushed my cheek with shocking gentleness. Careful, he whispered, eyes burning into mine. You don't know what happens to the people I keep. I swallowed. What happens to them? He leaned closer, breath warm against my neck, voice a low promise. They become mine. The heart monitor spiked, and Adrian's lips curved into a slow, sinful smile. For a long moment, the room was silent. Not peaceful, not calm, but charged, as though the walls themselves were holding their breath along with me. Adrian's fingers lingered on my cheek, barely moving, barely touching, yet somehow commanding every ounce of air in my lungs. I didn't pull away. I should have. Every instinct I'd honed in a toxic marriage screamed, don't let powerful men get close. But this felt different. Not safe, not harmless, just different, and dangerously impossible to look away from. He was watching me with that unreadable storm-gray gaze, the kind that saw too much, understood too much, and revealed absolutely nothing he didn't want to. Finally, he dropped his hand and leaned back slightly, but not far. Never far. You should eat, he said, voice returning to that smooth, controlled register. You need strength. Strength. It didn't feel like a suggestion. It felt like an order disguised as a kindness. Still, he lifted the bowl Anna had brought and held it out. My ribs protested as I shifted upright, wincing. Before I could brace myself, Adrian's hand slid behind my back, steadying me, warm, firm, supporting my entire weight with effortless certainty. Heat flooded my cheeks, and I cursed myself for reacting like a teenager with a crush instead of a woman who should know better. You don't have to. I know, he said. I'm doing it anyway. He positioned a pillow behind me, adjusting it with surprising gentleness. His fingers brushed my shoulder, and my breath hitched before I could stop it. He noticed. Of course he noticed. This isn't necessary, I whispered, as he retook the seat beside me. Yes, he said softly, a soft that felt like velvet over steel. It is. He lifted the spoon to my lips. I froze. I can feed myself. A single brow rose. Can you? I tried to lift my arm. Pain shot down my side so intensely that my hand trembled. Adrian said nothing, but the faintest smirk curved at the corner of his mouth. Not mocking, just knowing. He brought the spoon to my lips again. This time I didn't fight him. Warm broth slipped into my mouth, mild and comforting. My body reacted to it instantly, hungrily, gratefully. He watched every swallow, every breath, every tremble. This is unnecessary, I whispered again, though my voice had lost conviction. You're under my care, he said. I take that seriously. Why? My voice cracked. You don't even know me. He set the bowl down, folding his hands as he studied me. You think protection requires familiarity? He asked, head tilting slightly. In my world, it requires only two things. Which are? His eyes held mine, slow and deliberate. Territory, he said. And intent. My pulse stuttered. Intent? You were left to die in my streets, Lila. That makes your fate my business. Your husband crossed a line he should have known better than to approach. Fear knotted in my stomach. He's dangerous, Adrian. You don't know what he's capable of. Adrian's lips twitched into a cold, dark smile. Oh, I know exactly what he's capable of, he murmured. The real question is whether he knows what I am capable of. A chill swept through me. Not fear this time, but something sharper. Something that whispered Ethan had finally messed with someone far deadlier than he'd ever imagined. Adrian, I hesitated. What's going to happen to him? His eyes softened, but only for me. That depends, he said, on what you want. My breath caught. What do I want? In this house? He said, leaning closer. Your voice matters. Tears stung my eyes, not from fear, but from the shock of hearing words I'd never been granted before. "Do you want him punished?" he asked quietly. I don't know," I whispered, my voice shaking. "Part of me does, part of me is terrified, and part of me—" I swallowed. "Part of me still hurts when I think about loving him for so many years." Adrian's expression didn't harden. It didn't shift to disgust or disbelief. Instead, he reached out, gently taking my chin between his fingers, tilting my face toward him. "We do not choose who we love," he said, voice low, steady. "But we do choose who we allow to break us." My chest tightened. "You were loyal," he continued. "That is not a weakness. That is a capability. One he didn't deserve." A tear slipped down my cheek. His thumb caught it before it fell. Then came his following words, soft but devastating, and one I do not take lightly. My heart stumbled. He rose slowly, the chair scraping softly against the marble floor. "I have business," he said. "But Anna will stay with you. And Lila?" I looked up. His eyes burned, not with anger, but something far more dangerous. "If anyone, including your husband, tries to come near you—" He stepped closer, his shadow falling over me. "They will not live long enough to regret it." A tremor ran down my spine. "And Lila?" he added, turning toward the door. "Yes." My voice was barely a breath. He didn't look back. "You asked my name." A pause. Mafia kings don't give their names lightly. Another beat of silence. "But I gave it to you." He left the room without another word, leaving me with a truth I wasn't prepared for. He wasn't just protecting me, he was claiming me, and I didn't know how to stop him, or if I even wanted to. I didn't mean to fall asleep, but exhaustion pulled me under like a tide, warm and heavy, until the world dissolved again. When I woke, sunlight filtered through tall windows draped in sheer white curtains. It cast soft, golden patterns across the bed, across my bandaged ribs, across the room that still felt too large, too luxurious, too not mine. For a moment I forgot where I was, then everything rushed back. The alley, the blood, Ethan, Adrian. I sat up abruptly, too abruptly. Pain speared through my side, forcing a gasp from my lips. "Careful!" Anna was suddenly at my bedside, gently easing me back into the pillows. "You heal better if you don't try to undo the doctor's work," she scolded softly. "I'm sorry," I breathed. "I just didn't expect to wake up here again." "You will for a while," she said. "Boss isn't letting you leave." Her tone was matter of fact, like she was telling me the weather forecast, not restructuring my entire reality. "He can't keep me here," I whispered. Anna's brows lifted. "Do you want to leave?" My mouth opened, closed, opened again. I didn't know. Before I could answer, a sharp buzz vibrated in Anna's pocket. She checked her phone, and her expression shifted, tightening, then smoothing into a neutral mask. "What is it?" I asked. "His men found something," she said quietly. "Boss wants you in the study." My stomach dropped. "Me? Why?" "I don't know," she said, but her voice wavered just slightly. "But he asked for you immediately." She helped me out of bed, supporting me as I stood. My legs were shaky, but they held. Anna wrapped a soft robe around my shoulders before guiding me down a long hallway, lined with dark wood, gold accents, and thick carpets that drowned every step into silence. Everything in this house whispered wealth, danger, and control, and Adrian sat at the center of it. Anna stopped at a pair of large oak doors and knocked twice. "Come in," Adrian's voice commanded from the other side. The sound of it made my pulse jump. Anna opened the door, and I stepped into a world that didn't feel like mine. Adrian stood behind an enormous desk, sleeves rolled up again, revealing strong forearms and veins that traced beneath tan skin. Papers and photographs were spread across the surface. His men, the large one from the alley and another with tattoos climbing his neck, stood nearby. All three sets of eyes lifted when I entered, but Adrian lingered. He didn't speak at first, didn't move, just watched, like he was confirming I was real. "Come," he said finally, gesturing to the seat beside his desk. My legs felt weak as I crossed the room. When I sank into the chair, Adrian picked up a photo and slid it toward me. It took a moment for my eyes to focus. Then my blood turned to ice. It was a picture of Ethan, taken last night, standing outside a bar on the phone, looking furious and scared. "What is this?" I whispered. "Surveillance," Adrian said. "My men have been tracking him." "Why?" "To understand what game he's playing," Adrian answered. "Your husband is not acting like a man who simply lost his temper. He's acting like a man who made a deal." "A deal?" My breath stilled. "What kind of deal?" Adrian tapped another document. This one a grainy image of a briefcase being exchanged between Ethan and a man I didn't recognize. "This man," Adrian said, pointing, "is a broker for the Viscari family." My heart lurched. I knew that name. Everyone did. They were a rival syndicate, brutal, unpredictable, vicious. "Ethan met with them twice this week," Adrian continued. "Your injuries were not an impulse. They were a warning." "A warning?" My voice trembled. "To whom?" "To me." I stared at him, horror settling like stone in my stomach. "He used you," Adrian said, eyes burning cold, "as bait, as leverage, as a message." My vision blurred. "He wouldn't—" "Yes," Adrian cut in gently but firmly. "He would, and he did." The room felt like it tilted beneath me. "He needed my attention," Adrian said. "And leaving you half dead in my territory accomplished that." I pressed a shaking hand to my mouth as bile rose in my throat. "He knew," I whispered. "He knew you'd find me." "Yes. And he knew you'd bring me here." "Yes." "Why?" My voice cracked. "Why go this far?" Adrian moved then, circling the desk slowly, stopping in front of me. He crouched so we were eye level. "Because he wanted you under my roof," he said softly. "Because he wanted the Viscari to think you mattered to me." My lungs froze. "He made you a pawn in a war you know nothing about." A tear slipped down my cheek. Not from pain this time, but from the crushing weight of betrayal. Adrian reached up, thumb brushing the tear away. "There is one thing he did not anticipate, Lila." I blinked. "What?" Adrian's voice lowered to something intimate, dark, and unyieldingly sincere. "He didn't expect that the moment I saw you, I would decide you do matter to me." My breath left my body in a quiet, broken gasp. He continued, eyes burning into mine. "And now that he's put you in my world, I'm not letting you go." My heart hammered. Fear, shock, warmth, all tangled into something that felt dangerously like surrender. "But I don't want to be a pawn," I whispered. Adrian stood slowly, towering over me, his shadow falling across my body like a protective shroud. "You won't be," he said. "You'll be the reason your husband dies, or the reason I spare him." A chill tore down my spine. "Adrian—" "No." His voice was low, absolute. "You have a choice now, Lila. One Ethan never gave you." He leaned in, breath brushing my ear. "Tell me how this ends." The room went silent. Every eye was on me. Every fate hung in the balance of my words, and for the first time since that alley, I realized I held the power. Silence. Heavy, suffocating, absolute. Everyone in the study stood frozen. Not out of fear of me, but out of fear of what my answer would unleash inside Adrian. He watched me with that same unblinking, storm-gray gaze, a man carved from control. But beneath that, something far more dangerous. Not rage, not impatience, expectation. He was waiting for my judgment. "What do you want me to say?" I whispered, my throat tight. "That," he said softly, "is your decision. Not mine, not his." His voice dropped to a lower register, intimate enough to make the air around us feel warmer. "For the first time in your life, Lila, you choose." I closed my eyes, breathed, felt the ache of bruised ribs, the sting of betrayal, the ghost of Ethan's voice telling me I was nothing without him. Then I opened my eyes and met Adrian's. "I don't want to choose someone's death." One of his men exhaled behind him, a quiet, almost relieved sound. "But Adrian?" He didn't move, didn't blink. "You want him spared?" he asked. "I want him held accountable," I said, voice trembling but steady. "But not murdered because of me." For a long moment, Adrian didn't respond. Then he straightened slowly, rising to his full, intimidating height. "You mistake me," he said. "Accountability and death are not the same thing." He motioned to his men with 2 fingers. They immediately left the room, closing the heavy doors behind them. Now it was just the two of us. Adrian moved closer, standing directly in front of me. Too close. Close enough that his scent, warm cedar, smoke, dominance, wrapped around me like a second skin. "You are not responsible for the consequences of his choices," he murmured. "He made his move. He set the board." A beat. "And now he will face the result." My voice cracked. "But it doesn't have to be death." Adrian's jaw flexed. "No, it doesn't." Relief washed through me so hard it made my vision blur, until Adrian placed a single finger under my chin, lifting my face to his. "I will not kill him," he said softly, "but I will destroy the life he thought he controlled." My blood chilled. "What does that mean?" "It means," Adrian said, "that he will lose everything he used to hurt you. His money, his alliances, his protection, his name." His voice darkened. "And then he will face you. Fear and something else, something fierce twisted inside me." "I can't face him," I whispered. "Yes," Adrian said, eyes locked on mine. "You can." He crouched again so we were eye to eye. "You are stronger than you believe. I saw it the moment I found you bleeding in the alley. A weaker woman would have given up. You didn't." Tears filled my eyes, but they didn't fall, because Adrian's thumb brushed them away before they could. "I'm not strong," I whispered. "You are," he insisted quietly. "You survived the man who tried to break you. Now you will confront him, with me behind you." My chest tightened. "You don't even know me." "I know enough." His hand slid down, cupping the side of my face with careful, deliberate tenderness. "I know you didn't deserve what he did. I know you fought for a man who gave you nothing. And I know—" His voice softened, warmed. "I know you are the only woman who has ever looked at me without fear." I sucked in a breath. "That's not true," I murmured. His lips curved, slow, dangerous, intimate. "It is," he said. "And it makes you more powerful than you realize." I swallowed hard. "What happens now?" His expression shifted, controlled, calculated. "The Mafia King is settling back into place. Now," he said, "I call a meeting." "A meeting?" "Between your husband," he explained, "and me." I felt my heart stop. "And I want you there." No, I stammered. "Adrian, I can't." "You can," he said, firm but gentle. "And you will not be alone. I will not let him touch you. I will not let him speak to you with disrespect. I will not let him intimidate you ever again." I trembled. Not from fear, from the strange, overwhelming safety I felt in his certainty. "What if he tries to hurt you?" I whispered. A slow, confident smile touched his lips, one that was equal parts menace and reassurance. "He won't," Adrian said, "because he knows he's already lost." His hand fell from my face. He offered me another instead. Open, steady, waiting. "Whatever choice you make next," he said quietly, "I stand with you." My breathing hitched. My fingers hovered above his. And for the first time in my entire marriage, someone was offering me support without demanding anything in return. Cautiously, I placed my hand in his. His fingers closed around mine, warm, strong, unyielding. "Good," Adrian murmured, voice dropping to a velvet command. "Then let's end what your husband started." I didn't realize how tightly Adrian held my hand until he finally released it, not abruptly, not carelessly, but slowly, like a man putting down a weapon he intended to pick back up again. His touch remained on my skin long after he stepped away. "We will meet with him tonight," Adrian said. "My men are arranging the location." My stomach twisted. "Tonight?" "Yes." A simple word. Simple but final. "But I'm not ready," I whispered. "You are," he said without hesitation. Not because he was arrogant, but because he believed it. More than I did. Anna re-entered the study then, quiet as always. "Boss, security is in place. The car is ready when you are." Adrian nodded once. "Good. Bring a coat for Lila, something that won't irritate her ribs." Anna's eyes flicked to me with a small, comforting smile. "Of course." As she left, I forced my voice to steady. "What exactly happens at this meeting?" Adrian folded his hands behind his back, his entire posture shifting. Taller, colder, king-like. "He will answer for what he did," Adrian said, "and you will witness it." I swallowed, hard. "And what do I do?" "You speak," Adrian replied. "You confront him. You tell him what he did to you. You decide whether he walks out of that room a ruined man or a broken one." My knees nearly buckled. "Adrian, I can't decide someone's fate." "You already did," he murmured. "You asked me not to kill him, so I won't." He stepped closer, lowering his voice to a tone that wrapped around me like smoke. "But there are many ways to end a man, Lila. Some of them don't require blood." My breath hitched. He noticed. He always noticed. "You're shaking," he said quietly. "I'm scared." He touched my chin again, gently, tenderly. "That fear," he murmured, "it's not weakness, it's memory. And tonight, you rewrite it." The door opened again, and Anna returned with a long black coat. Soft wool, luxurious, lined with silk. "For you," she said, wrapping it around my shoulders as carefully as if I were porcelain. The coat smelled faintly like cedar, like Adrian, when he offered his arm to guide me out of the study. I hesitated only a moment before taking it. His body heat soaked through the coat. His presence steadied me more than the marble floor beneath my feet. As we walked through the mansion, his men fell into place around us, silent, alert shadows. "Where are we going?" I asked. Adrian didn't look at me. He didn't need to. "To neutral ground," he said. "A place where he cannot run, and I will not be accused." "Accused of what?" I whispered. Adrian glanced down, and a faint, dangerous smile touched his lips. "Of doing what he deserves." A shiver crawled across my skin, and not from fear, from anticipation. Outside, 2 sleek black SUVs idled in the driveway. The sky was turning dusky, colors melting from gold to violet to deep gray. Adrian opened the car door for me himself, something Ethan had never once done in our entire marriage. Inside, the leather smelled clean, expensive, nothing like the cologne-soaked interior of Ethan's BMW. "You'll sit beside me," Adrian instructed as he slid in next to me. His voice was calm, but his jaw was tight, too tight. "Are you angry?" I asked softly. "No," he said. A beat later, "Yes." His hand moved, landing over mine with a quiet, claiming pressure. "I am angry because you were hurt," he said. "I am angry because you were used. I am angry because he made you believe you were powerless." He squeezed my fingers. "But most of all, Lila," his voice dropped to a low, dangerous whisper, "I am angry because he thought you were forgettable." My throat tightened. "I wasn't anything special," I whispered. His gaze snapped to mine, intense and disbelieving. "You walked into my world and didn't bow," he said. "You looked me in the eyes. You survived cruelty without surrendering your softness." Another squeeze of my hand. "You are many things, Lila Hart. Forgettable is not one of them." My heart trembled inside its bruised cage. "Adrian," I breathed. He looked forward suddenly, posture stiffening. The car slowed. We turned down a dim street I didn't recognize. "We're here," he said. The SUV rolled to a stop outside an abandoned industrial building, the kind of place where deals were struck and bodies disappeared. Fear slid icy fingers down my spine. Adrian opened his door, walked around the SUV, and held his hand out for mine. "Come," he said softly. "I will not let anything happen to you." And I believed him, even when the doors of the warehouse opened, and Ethan stepped into view. Bruised, disheveled, eyes burning with panic when they landed on me. "Lila?" he choked out. "Baby, what are you doing with him?" I froze, every nerve lighting up, but Adrian stepped forward, placing himself half in front of me. Protective, possessive, deadly. "She's not baby anymore," Adrian said coldly. "She's here to speak. You're here to listen." Ethan's face twisted. "You can't control her. She's my wife." Adrian's voice dropped to a lethal whisper. "Not anymore." He looked at me then. Only me. "Lila," he murmured. "Say what you need to say." My heart pounded. My knees shook. My palms trembled. But for the first time in my entire life, Ethan was the one trapped. Not me. I stepped forward. When I spoke, my voice didn't sound like the broken woman from the alley. It sounded like someone reborn. I stood there, facing the man who'd broken me, the man I'd once loved, the man who left me bleeding in a gutter. Ethan. Just his name in my mind made my ribs ache. He looked smaller than I remembered. Not physically. He was still tall, still broad-shouldered, but something in him had shriveled. Fear had hollowed him out. "Lila," he said again, softer this time. "Baby, please come here. We can talk about this." I flinched. Adrian's hand brushed the small of my back, a silent reminder that I wasn't alone. I straightened, lifted my chin, took a breath that tasted like iron and courage. "I'm not coming to you," I said. Ethan blinked, stunned. He wasn't used to my voice without apology. "You tried to kill me." "What?" No, Lila, I didn't." "You beat me," I said louder. The words shook as they came out, but they didn't break. Ethan's mouth opened, closed. His eyes darted to Adrian, as if he wanted him to intervene. Adrian didn't. He stood beside me, silent and immovable, his presence a shield sharper than any blade. "You left me in the rain," I continued. "On the ground, bleeding. You took my phone, my wallet, my ring." Ethan swallowed hard. I lost control. You went into my safe. You betrayed me first." I felt my voice crack. "I was scared of you. I needed protection." "So you went to the feds?" Ethan snapped. "Do you have any idea what you nearly did to me? To my business?" "Yes," Adrian said calmly. "Deadly, smooth, cold." Ethan jumped at the sound of his voice. "Which is why you decided to send a message using your wife," Adrian continued. "My streets, my territory, my attention." Ethan's eyes darted between us, panic rising. "No, that wasn't— I didn't mean—" "You meant it," I whispered. "You wanted him involved." And there it was. The truth. The poison. Ethan froze. His throat bobbed. "I thought," he rasped, "if he believed you mattered to him, he'd back off the deal with Viscari." The words slammed into my chest. "You used me," I breathed. "I wasn't even a person to you. I was leveraging." "It wasn't like that," Ethan shouted. "I did it for us." Adrian laughed. A soft, lethal, terrifying sound. "Us?" Adrian repeated. "Your us ended the moment you raised a hand to her." Ethan's voice cracked. "Lila, you don't understand how dangerous these people are. That's the difference between you and me," Adrian murmured. "I protect what's mine." I stiffened. "Mine." The words simmered between us. Ethan's face twisted with disgust. "Oh, I get it now. You're using her, aren't you? You always wanted what I had. You think taking my wife makes you the bigger man?" I felt Adrian move before I saw it. A shift in the air. A ripple of something violent. But I grabbed his wrist. "Don't," I whispered. Adrian stopped instantly. For me, his eyes dropped to my hand on him. Heat flickered there. Something dark. Something claiming. But he didn't move another inch. I turned back to Ethan. "You don't get to talk about me like I'm a prize," I said softly. "Not anymore." Ethan's anger cracked into desperation. "Lila, please, come home. We can fix this. You're my wife. You belong with me." "No," I said. It was the quietest word I'd spoken all night, but it hit harder than a scream. Ethan stared, confused, hurt, furious. "You're choosing him?" he spat. Adrian didn't answer. He didn't need to. I took a step closer to Ethan. Not because I wasn't afraid, but because he no longer controlled the ground under my feet. "I'm choosing myself," I whispered. "And you never did." Ethan's face twisted. "I loved you. You controlled me. I provided for you. You isolated me. I protected you. You broke me." The last words shook the room. Ethan recoiled as I'd slapped him. "I'm not the villain here," he hissed. "You are," Adrian said. The truth landed heavy, undeniable. Ethan's jaw clenched. "So what now? Adrian ruins my entire life? Takes my business? My money? My reputation? Is that what you want, Lila?" I closed my eyes. The woman I had been, the woman Ethan had shaped, would have apologized, would have begged him to stop, would have blamed herself. But I wasn't that woman anymore. When I opened my eyes, they were steady. "Yes," I said. Ethan stumbled back as if the word had struck him. "You hurt me," I whispered. "You broke me. You discarded me. And now, you face what you made. Adrian stepped forward then, not blocking me, not overshadowing me, but standing beside me like a dark, unshakable pillar. You heard her, Adrian said. You're finished. Ethan lunged forward suddenly, screaming, You can't take her from me. He never reached me. Adrian caught him by the collar with one hand and slammed him against the concrete wall so hard that dust rained down. The sound echoed like thunder. Ethan coughed, choking for breath. Adrian leaned in, voice low and deadly. You never deserved her, he growled. And if you ever come near her again, you won't be leaving the room upright. Ethan whimpered. Whimpered? The man who had once held my life in his hands. Adrian released him, letting him collapse to the floor. One of Adrian's men dragged Ethan to his knees, forcing him to look at me. Say it, Adrian ordered. Ethan's voice shook. Say what? That she is no longer yours. Ethan's eyes lifted to mine, desperate, broken, defeated. Lila, please. I swallowed. Say it, I whispered. His shoulders slumped. She's not mine. Adrian nodded once. Good, now leave. You have nothing left here. Ethan's men hauled him up. He didn't fight. As they dragged him away, Ethan looked back at me with a hollow expression. You'll regret this, he croaked. Men like him, they don't save people. They own them. The warehouse door slammed behind him. Silence rippled through the room. Then Adrian turned to me slowly. His eyes softened, but only for me. You did well, he said quietly. Very well. My breath shuddered. I'm shaking, I whispered. He stepped forward, cupping my cheek in one warm, steady hand. Then let me hold you still. And when he drew me against him, I didn't resist. For the first time in a long time, I didn't feel broken. I felt claimed, and worse or better, I felt okay with it. Adrian didn't let go of me right away. His hold wasn't crushing or possessive. It was anchoring, like he was grounding me back inside my own body after years of floating through someone else's life. My cheek pressed against his chest, the steady thrum of his heartbeat thudding beneath my ear. Strong, controlled, unshakable, everything I wasn't. Not yet, but maybe someday. Minutes passed before he finally eased back, his hands sliding down my arms until his fingers brushed mine. Are you hurt? He asked softly. Physically, I whispered. No, not more than I already was. And otherwise? Otherwise. My heart felt like shattered glass pieced together wrong, sharp edges still exposed. I don't know what I feel, I admitted. The words tasted raw. Relief? Anger? Sadness? All of it? Adrian nodded once, as if that answer pleased him. Good, he said quietly. Feeling means you're still fighting. His thumb grazed my jaw in a single gentle sweep before he stepped back and signaled to one of his men. Take Ethan out of the city, he ordered. Strip his access, cut ties with Viscari, freeze his accounts, make his partners forget his name. I stiffened. Adrian! He turned to me, his expression softening by degrees. You asked me not to kill him, he said. You said nothing about destroying what he built. My stomach twisted with something complicated. Guilt tangled with justice, fear tangled with liberation. I don't want him dead, I whispered, but I want him to stop hurting me, forever. Adrian stepped closer again, not touching me, but near enough for heat to brush across my skin. And he will, Adrian murmured, because now he has nothing left to hurt you with. The certainty in his voice slipped into my bones and settled there. Warm, solid, reassuring. Then he extended his hand. Come, we're leaving. I hesitated. Back to your house? His eyes deepened. To your home for as long as you need one. My heartbeat fluttered. His home? No, my home? But I didn't have a home to return to. Ethan's house wasn't mine anymore. My job, my income, my accounts, all tied to him, to his control, his rules. Without him, I had nothing. Adrian must have seen that realization flash across my face, because he gently placed his hand at the small of my back. You are not going back to him, he said firmly, and you are not going anywhere alone. I let out a shaky breath. Why are you doing this for me? He didn't answer right away. His gaze traveled over my bruised cheek, the faint tremble in my hands, the way my ribs were wrapped tight under the coat. Then he spoke, voice low and certain. "Because some things deserve protecting," he said. "And some people deserve a second chance at life." My throat constricted. "You don't even know who I am." A slow smile tugged at his lips. "I know enough," he murmured. "And the rest, we'll learn." My heartbeat stumbled. He guided me out of the warehouse, his hand a warm weight between my shoulder blades, an unspoken promise in his grip. But just as we reached the SUV, one of his men jogged up beside him. "Boss," the man said, leaning in. "There's something you need to see." Adrian's brows tightened. "What?" The man handed him a phone, not his own, but a burner device wrapped in cracked plastic. "We found this on Hart," the man explained. "He tried to smash it before we got to him." Adrian unlocked it with practiced ease. The screen lit up, and everything changed. Images, saved messages, screenshots, contacts, my name, my photo, my schedule, my location history, dozens of files, all about me. Everywhere I'd been, every password Ethan had tracked, every bank account, every private message, every doctor's appointment, every conversation I'd had with a friend. All logged, all monitored, all controlled. The blood drained from my face. "He was tracking you," Adrian said, his voice suddenly cold, hard, lethal. Every step, every breath, long before that night. I staggered back. No, he wouldn't." Adrian's eyes burned. Not at me, but for me. "Lila," he said softly. "He owned you long before he ever hit you." My stomach twisted. Why would he do that?" Adrian looked at the screen again, his jaw tightening. "Because Ethan didn't just control you," he murmured. "He was preparing to trade you." "Trade me?" I whispered, horrified. "To Viscari." The world went still. "He was setting you up," Adrian said, "as leverage, as payment, as a bargaining chip to protect himself." My knees buckled, and Adrian caught me instantly, arms strong around my waist. I stared up at him, heart breaking open. "He never loved me," I whispered. Adrian brushed a hand through my hair, almost tender. "No," he said quietly. "He never did." His thumb lifted my chin. "But I'm not him." Something warm and dangerous bloomed in my chest. "From this moment forward," Adrian said, voice low and final, "no one touches you. No one tracks you. No one claims you." He leaned in, his breath brushing my lips. "Unless you decide they can." My breath caught. "And if that someone is me, Lila, you will not be a bargaining chip." His eyes darkened. "You will be a queen." The SUV door opened behind us. The night air shifted. My future tilted. Adrian held out his hand to me again. "Come home with me." And for the first time, not out of fear, not out of desperation, I wanted to. I took his hand. Not because I was weak, not because I needed saving, but because, for the first time in years, someone was offering me a direction that didn't lead back into darkness. Adrian guided me into the SUV with a steadiness that seeped into my bones. His hand stayed at my lower back as he helped me in, not pushing, not directing, just there. Present, grounding, claiming without force. Once the door closed, muting the sounds of the warehouse and the chaos outside, silence wrapped around us like a thick electric thread. The engine hummed to life. Adrian's men took their seats in the second vehicle. Another pulled ahead, scanning the streets. Adrian sat beside me, gaze fixed on the phone with Ethan's files, those horrifying, invasive digital footprints of my stolen life. Finally, he spoke. "We're going to rebuild your identity." I blinked. "Rebuild?" He nodded once, still staring at the screen. "Everything he accessed," Adrian said, voice steady but lethal, "will be destroyed. Accounts, records, traces, the digital leash he put around your neck." His eyes lifted to mine. "I'm cutting it." My breath shook. "And then what? I started over?" "Yes," he said. "Simple, certain, and this time no one will own your name but you." I pressed my hand to my ribs, not from pain, but from the weight of something unfamiliar. "Freedom, or the first terrifying hint of it," I whispered. "I don't know how to live without someone controlling me." Adrian turned fully toward me then, one arm draped along the back of the seat, his body angled as if he were prepared to catch every tear, every fear, every broken piece before it touched the floor. "That's not something to be ashamed of," he said. "It's something to unlearn." His fingers brushed the edge of my knuckles. Barely a touch, barely a breath. "And I can't do it for you," he added. "But I can stand next to you while you do it." My throat tightened painfully. "Why? Why do you care so much?" Something flickered in his eyes. Something he rarely let anyone see. "Because the moment I saw you in that alley," he said, "I recognized two things." He held up one finger. "One, you were dying. A second finger. 2, you had more fight left in you than half the men I've buried." My breath trembled. He leaned in slightly, not enough to touch, but enough that the air between us grew warmer, thicker, more intimate. "You deserve more than survival, Lila," he murmured, "and I intend to give you the chance to prove it to yourself." He didn't say, "I'll save you." He didn't say, "You owe me." He didn't say, "You belong to me." Not yet, but his silence said it anyway. The SUV slowed as we reached his mansion. Guards opened the gates, each nodding respectfully as Adrian's eyes swept across them. Inside, the foyer's warm lights washed over me like sunlight I didn't trust yet. Adrian guided me through the entrance. His hand hovered at my back, never touching unless I faltered, always ready if I did. Just before we reached the grand staircase, Anna appeared, bowing her head slightly. "Everything is prepared, boss." "Good," Adrian said. "Alert Mateo on external surveillance. I want 24-hour perimeter until further notice." Anna nodded. "Understood." Then her gaze softened as it landed on me. "Lila, your room is ready." "My room." I blinked. "I'm staying here?" Adrian cocked his head slightly, watching my reaction. "You will stay here," he said, "until you decide what comes next." "What if I want to leave?" I asked softly. His jaw tightened, but not with anger, with restraint. "Then I will take you wherever you choose," he said. "But not tonight. Tonight you rest. You think. You breathe." I nodded slowly. Anna guided me to the staircase, but before I could take a step, Adrian's voice stopped me. "Lila." I turned. His expression shifted. Something raw beneath the control. "I need you to understand something," he said. I waited. He stepped closer, not close enough to touch, but close enough that heat radiated off him like a promise. "You are safe here," Adrian said, "but you are not trapped." My chest tightened painfully. "How do I know that?" Adrian's answer was quiet. "Because if I wanted to own you the way he did..." He paused. "I wouldn't be asking you to choose." A breath escaped me, a shaky one. Then he added almost too softly, "And because I do not want a woman who stays out of fear. Only one who stays because she wants to." I swallowed, heartbeat in my throat. "And what if I decide I want to go?" I whispered. His voice dropped to something dark and honest. "Then I will let you." A beat, but I hope you don't. He turned away then, giving me space to breathe, to think, to feel. Anna touched my arm gently. "Come, I'll show you your room." But when I reached the first step, I felt Adrian's gaze on me again. Heavy, burning, unspoken. I looked back, and for the first time since Ethan's betrayal, I didn't see myself as broken. I saw myself as someone who still had something left worth claiming. Not as property, not as leverage, but as a woman, Adrian should never have crossed paths with. Yet now I couldn't seem to let go, and the most terrifying part, a piece of me didn't want him to. Anna led me up the sweeping staircase, the soft carpeting muffling our footsteps. Even though my ribs throbbed with each step, I couldn't help but glance back. Adrian was still there, standing at the base of the stairs, hands in his pockets, eyes fixed on me with an intensity that felt like a vow. He didn't follow. He didn't press. He watched, as if making sure I didn't disappear before sunrise. When I finally reached the landing and turned a corner, I felt that gaze fade, but the warmth stayed. Anna opened a door to a room that looked like it belonged in a magazine spread. Cream walls, soft lighting, a balcony overlooking the gardens, a king-sized bed draped in white linen that looked like heaven. "This is your room," Anna said gently. "Boss insisted it be ready today." Insisted. The word alone made heat flush through me. I stepped inside slowly, fingers brushing the edge of the duvet. Everything smelled new. Fresh cotton, lavender, a hint of something warm. It felt safe, and I didn't know what to do with that. Anna cleared her throat softly. There are clean clothes in the wardrobe. The bathroom is stocked with everything you might need. If you need help bathing, I can assist. I think I can manage, I said, embarrassed. She nodded. If you need anything at all, you press that button. She pointed to a small switch discreetly placed on the wall. It alerts me, not the whole house. My heart eased a little. Thank you. Anna smiled, sincere and warm. Boss isn't an easy man, but he's a fair one. He won't let anything happen to you. Her words should have scared me. Instead, they settled over my nerves like a blanket. After she left, I stood alone in the center of the room. The silence was different from the silence in Ethan's house. This one wasn't suffocating. This one didn't tighten around my throat. This one didn't feel like a warning. It felt like possibility. I went to the wardrobe and pulled out a soft cotton shirt and drawstring shorts. The fabric was so gentle that it didn't hurt the bruises on my ribs. Pain flared each time I lifted my arms, but nothing compared to that night in the alley. The mirror beside the wardrobe caught my reflection. I almost didn't recognize myself. Bruised cheek, purple shadows under my eyes, a cut along my lip. And yet, there was something new there too. A steadiness, a spark. A woman who had looked her abuser in the face and said no. I swallowed hard. After changing, I washed my face and brushed my hair, shaking with nervousness. The simple act felt like reclaiming something I didn't even know Ethan had taken. When I finally lay down on the impossibly soft bed, the mattress cradled me like a cloud. My ribs ached less. My breathing slowed. I didn't mean to fall asleep, but exhaustion tugged at me, pulling me under. I woke hours later, groggy, warm, wrapped in blankets. But something felt different. Someone was in the room. I sat up too quickly, pain shooting through me. And then I saw him. Adrian, standing on the balcony, silhouetted against moonlight that turned him into something carved from shadow and power. He had changed clothes again. A black dress shirt, sleeves rolled, collar open just enough to expose the defined lines of his throat. His hair was slightly mussed, as if he'd run his hand through it. His posture was rigid, one hand braced on the balcony railing. He was breathtaking, dangerous, and completely unaware I was awake. I watched him quietly for a moment. The way his chest rose and fell too evenly. A man trying to control something that wanted to unravel. The way his jaw clenched. The way his grip tightened on the railing. Then I whispered, "Adrian?" He turned instantly, eyes locking onto mine. I'd never seen him look like that. Relief. Tension. And something deeper. Something possessive. "You're awake," he said softly, stepping inside. "You were watching me?" He paused as if choosing honesty over deflection. "Yes." My breath caught. "Why?" He moved closer. Slow, careful steps. Like I was something fragile he refused to break. "I wanted to make sure you could sleep," he said. "Your breathing changed earlier. I thought you might be in pain." Warmth spread through my chest. "But why stay?" I asked quietly. "You could have sent someone else." His eyes darkened. I didn't want someone else. My heart stumbled. He sat on the edge of the bed, not too close, not touching, but near enough that the mattress dipped under his weight. The space between us hummed. "It's been a long night," he murmured. "Yes," I whispered, "for both of us." Adrian's gaze lowered to my hands resting atop the blanket. He hesitated. A rare thing for him. Then slowly, deliberately, placed his hand beside mine. Not touching, but offering. "Lila," he said quietly, "what you did tonight took strength most people never find." My throat tightened. I was terrified. He nodded. "Strength doesn't mean the absence of fear. It means standing anyway." I swallowed hard. Are you angry with me? For what did I decide?" His brows drew together in something that looked almost like confusion. "Angry?" he repeated. "No, I'm—" He looked away, the first sign that the Mafia King could be unsure. "I'm proud." The word hit me like a physical touch. Adrian turned his palm up. An invitation. My fingers hovered above his, trembling, hesitant. "Can I ask you something?" I whispered. "Yes." Why does it matter so much to you what happens to me?" He was quiet for a long moment. Moonlight caught the edges of his face, softening him in a way nothing else could. Then he answered, slow and honest. "Because the night I found you," he said, "you reminded me of someone I used to be." I blinked. "You?" He nodded once. "Someone hurt," he murmured. "Someone betrayed. Someone who had to decide whether to fight or let the world crush them." My breath shook. "And you fought?" "I did," he said. "But no one stood beside me." He lifted his gaze to mine. "I will not let you stand alone." My heart clenched painfully. Then I did something I didn't expect. I placed my hand in his. His fingers closed around mine instantly. Warm, strong, certain. Adrian exhaled slowly, like he'd been holding his breath all night. "Rest now," he murmured. "You're safe." I believed him. For the first time in years, I believed someone. He stayed beside me until my breathing steadied again, his thumb brushing gently across the back of my hand, not claiming, not demanding, just there, constant, steady, unshakable. And the last thought I had before sleep pulled me under was, maybe this is what safety feels like. When morning came, it didn't come quietly. I woke slowly, curled beneath warm sheets, my hand still tingling from where Adrian had held it hours before. The room was soft with early sunlight, birds faintly singing outside the balcony doors. For a moment it felt like peace, real peace, something I hadn't felt in years. Then a knock shattered it. Sharp, urgent. I sat up too quickly, winced as pain tore through my ribs, and before I could call out, the door opened. It wasn't Anna. It was Matteo, the broad-shouldered, stone-faced man who followed Adrian like an armed shadow. Except right now, there was tension rippling across his usually unreadable expression. "Miss Hart," he said, voice clipped. "Boss needs you downstairs, immediately." My pulse jumped. "What's wrong?" "Nothing with the house," Matteo said carefully. "But something happened." "Ethan?" I whispered. A pause. "Yes." Ice spread through my veins. Matteo stepped forward slightly, not touching me but bracing as if he expected I might collapse. "You'll want to hear this from him," he said. I nodded, throat tight. "Give me a moment." I dressed quickly, a soft shirt, leggings, and a cardigan Anna must have laid out. Moving hurt, but fear hurt worse. I tied my hair back with trembling hands and followed Matteo out the door. The mansion was different this morning. Quieter, thicker, like the walls were holding secrets. Matteo didn't speak as we descended the stairs, but every guard we passed turned their eyes toward me. Not hostile, not curious, protective. It shook me more than I expected. When we reached the large double doors of the study, Matteo stopped. "He's inside." "Matteo," I hesitated. "Is he angry?" "Not at you." That wasn't comforting. He opened the door, and there Adrian was, standing at the far end of the room, back to us, one hand braced on the desk, the other holding the burner phone, Ethan's phone, so tightly the plastic casing creaked. He didn't turn when we entered, but he knew. "Lila," he said, voice low, taut with something dangerous. "Come here." I crossed the room slowly, pulse thundering. Adrian finally turned. His eyes weren't the cool, controlled gray I'd grown used to. They were darker, sharper, a storm seconds before breaking. "Something's happened," he said. "What is it?" My voice barely made it out. He handed me the phone. On the screen was a message thread, from Ethan, to someone I didn't recognize, but the last message was time-stamped this morning. "I know she's with him. If I can't get her back, I'll take her out. No one gets to own what's mine." My breath froze. He wanted me back. Not out of love, out of possession. And if he couldn't have me, he'd rather I be dead. My knees buckled, and Adrian caught me instantly, arms sliding around me, solid and warm and furious. "It's my fault," I whispered. "I should have known." "No," Adrian said sharply, tilting my face toward his. "Do not put his sins on your shoulders." "But he's still coming after me." "Yes," Adrian murmured, "and that is why he will not succeed." His thumb brushed my cheek, grounding me. "He no longer has the resources to touch you, but desperation makes men reckless." My voice trembled. "What do we do?" Adrian straightened slowly, his hand never leaving my waist. "We prepare." A soft knock pulled our attention to the doorway, where Anna stood, face pale, eyes too wide. "Boss," she said quietly. "He's gone." Adrian's expression sharpened. "Explain." Anna stepped inside, hands clasped nervously. "Ethan. The men escorting him out of the city. Someone ambushed them." Cold dread punched through me. "What?" I gasped. "Ambushed? By who?" Adrian's jaw clenched. "Vescari." Matteo nodded grimly. "Their signature. Clean extraction. No bodies left behind." My stomach twisted. "Is he—" "Alive," Adrian said, "for now." "Why would they take him?" I whispered. Adrian turned toward me slowly. "Because they think you matter to me." The words hit with the force of a blow. My heart stumbled. "And because Ethan told them," Adrian added, "that you do." I swallowed hard. "What do they want?" "You," Adrian said. Then softer. "Or me." The room tilted. Anna let out a soft breath. "Boss. They're using him as leverage. They know he failed to secure Lila. Now they're bargaining with his life." A sick, hollow dread crawled up my spine. "Adrian, I don't want anyone else dying because of me." He closed the space between us in one stride. "You listen to me," he said, voice low and fierce. "This is not your burden. This is Ethan's reckoning." His hands framed my face, thumb brushing my cheek with a gentleness that contradicted the fire in his eyes. "I promised you safety," he murmured. "I intend to keep that promise." "But how?" I whispered. He leaned in closer, forehead nearly touching mine. "Because before this is over," Adrian said, voice dark and absolute, "every man who tries to claim you will learn what it means to challenge me." My breath hitched. "And Ethan?" I asked. "What about him?" Adrian's fingers slid to my jaw, his touch steady and irrevocable. "He made his choice," he whispered. "Now he faces the consequences." "But I don't want him dead," I said, voice breaking. "I know." Adrian's tone softened, just for me. "And I will honor that if I can." He paused. "But if they intend to use him to get to you, then he has made himself a weapon." I closed my eyes, feeling tears burn. "What happens now?" I whispered. Adrian's hand slipped down, entwining his fingers with mine. "Now," he said, voice low and lethal, "we end Vescari's interest in you." "How?" He lifted my chin. "By making it clear," he murmured, "that you are under my protection." Something shifted between us then. Something electric, something undeniable. "Lila," he said, his voice dropping to a quiet, dangerous promise. "I will not let them take you." His thumb brushed my lips, barely a touch. "You are not his. You are not theirs." His eyes burned into mine. "And when this is over, if you choose it, you will be mine." My heart exploded in my chest. But before I could answer, before I could even breathe, Matteo stepped forward. "Boss, we have a location." Adrian's head snapped toward him. "Where?" "A warehouse at the edge of the docks. Vescari territory. They're waiting." Adrian turned back to me, and in his eyes I saw war. "You're not coming," he said. "It's too dangerous." My pulse raced. "But if they want me, that's exactly why you're staying here." "Adrian—" He cupped my cheek again, softer this time, thumb brushing away the tear that escaped. "Do you trust me?" he asked. And despite fear, despite danger, despite everything, I found my answer without hesitation. "Yes." Adrian's jaw tightened, not in anger, but in something like relief. "Then let me fight for you," he whispered, "just this once." He pressed a soft kiss to my forehead, brief, warm, devastating. "Stay here with Anna, with my guards." He moved toward the door, Matteo close behind. And just before he stepped out, he looked back at me. "Lila," he said quietly. "Yes?" "When I return—" His eyes darkened. "We will finish what started between us." The door closed, and I was left standing in his study, shaking, terrified, breathless, and suddenly aware that the most dangerous thing in this story wasn't Adrian's enemies. It was the feeling growing in my chest for the man walking into a war for me. The door shut behind Adrian, and the sound echoed through the study like the closing of a vault. A finality, a promise, a warning. I stood there frozen, staring at the wooden grain as if I could will him back through it. It didn't work. Anna approached quietly, her voice soft. "Come," she murmured. Let's get you somewhere safe. I nodded numbly, but my feet refused to move. Anna, is he going to be okay? Her expression tightened, fear flickering through her eyes before she masked it. He's Adrian Romano, she said. He's survived worse. But her voice wasn't steady. Not fully. Not enough. Tell me the truth, I whispered. Anna sighed. The Viscari don't negotiate. They ambush. They manipulate. They kill without blinking. My stomach twisted. And Adrian? I forced out. He doesn't blink either. The words should have eased me. They didn't. We left the study and headed toward one of the inner safe rooms, a smaller lounge fortified behind steel doors. I stepped inside, and Anna secured the locks. Guards took positions outside. But the moment we were alone, the silence pressed around me like a vice. I sank onto the velvet sofa, pulling my knees close despite the pain. Anna sat beside me but didn't touch me, respecting a boundary I didn't know I needed. The clock on the wall ticked loudly, each second stabbing into my nerves. 10 minutes passed, then 30, then an hour. Every minute felt like a countdown. Anna, I whispered, what if he doesn't come back? Her face softened. He will. You don't know that. She took a slow breath. No, but I've never seen him fight for someone the way he's fighting for you. My heart twisted painfully. Why me? Anna hesitated, and that scared me more than anything. Because you woke something in him. Something he buried a long time ago. I stared at her. What does that mean? Before she could answer, a sudden sharp crack sliced through the air. Gunshot. Then another. Then shouting. My blood froze. Anna, stay behind me, she commanded instantly, rising to her feet. My heartbeat thundered against my ribs. More gunfire, heavy footsteps, a roar of engines outside. Everything was happening too fast, too loud, too close. Is it Viscari? I breathed. We don't know yet, Anna said, voice tight but steady. But the guards will stop them. I tried to breathe. I couldn't. Another explosion of sound rattled the doorframe. Anna grabbed the emergency radio. Matteo, status? Static. Then, hold positions, do not let them... A muffled yell. Gunfire. I clamped my hands over my mouth. Anna, what's happening? Her eyes flicked to me. Fear visible now. They're testing the perimeter. They want to divide our security. You are the target. My stomach plummeted. Because Adrian is gone. She didn't answer. Didn't need to. The walls shook from some impact outside. Lights flickered. I curled into the sofa, shaking violently. Where is he? I whispered. Where is Adrian? Anna didn't lie. We haven't heard from him yet. Something broke inside me. Something I'd held together for too long. Tears filled my eyes. He can't die. He can't... Lila, Anna said gently. He's the strongest man I know. If anyone can walk into a Viscari stronghold and come back alive, it's him. But they have Ethan, I whispered. Anna's voice hardened. They won't kill Ethan. Not yet. He's leverage. Her eyes dropped to me in a slow, knowing study. You're the real prize. My throat closed. Why? I rasped. Why am I so important? Anna swallowed. Because Ethan told them you matter to Adrian. They want that leverage. But my voice cracked. I didn't ask for any of this. Anna's expression softened again. I know. But you became the line Adrian refuses to let anyone cross. My heart beat painfully. He told me, I whispered, that when he returned, we'd finish what started between us. Anna's lips twitched with something like sympathy. He meant it. A sudden bang crashed against the safe room door. I screamed before I could stop myself. Another hit, harder. A dent formed in the steel. Anna, behind me! She raised her firearm, eyes locked on the door. My legs trembled violently as I backed up, pressing myself into the corner. The pounding intensified. Then, Anna, open the damn door! My heart stopped. It was Matteo's voice. Anna rushed forward and unlocked the security bolt. The instant the door cracked open, Matteo slipped inside, slamming it behind him and locking it with trembling hands. He was bleeding from the temple, panting hard. Matteo, what happened? Anna demanded. They got close, he said, wiping blood from his eye. Too close. We handled it, but... His eyes snapped to me. They were trying to enter through her side of the house. My stomach dropped. Me? Yes, Mateo said. Adrian was right. You're the target. They want leverage. My voice broke. Where is he? Why hasn't he called? Mateo hesitated. Too long. Too heavy. Then, we lost contact with his team 10 minutes ago. The floor disappeared from under me. No, I whispered. No, no, no. Anna grabbed my hand, grounding me. That doesn't mean he's dead. Mateo nodded quickly. He's Adrian. He doesn't die easily. But his eyes said something else. His eyes said we don't know. A violent tremor shook my body. Tears spilled down my cheeks, uncontrollable and hot. What do we do? I sobbed. Tell me what to do. Mateo crouched beside me, taking my shaking hands in his bloodied ones. You survive, he said. You stay alive until he comes back. But what if he doesn't? I choked. Mateo's jaw tightened. Then we burn the world that took him. I cried harder. Because for the first time since that alley, I understood something terrible. I didn't want to live in a world without Adrian Romano, and the realization terrified me more than any gunshot outside. The safe room had no windows, no clocks, no connection to anything outside its steel walls. Time crawled. My pulse kept climbing. Every second of silence felt like proof that Adrian wasn't coming back. I sat on the sofa, knees pulled to my chest, trembling despite the blanket Anna had wrapped around me. Mateo paced like a caged animal, blood dried on his temple, shirt torn, hands clenched so tightly his knuckles were white. Anna whispered into her radio between updates, each message sounding more tense than the last. Finally, I broke. Someone needs to go after him, I whispered. We can't, Mateo said without turning around. Why? My voice cracked. Because that's exactly what Viscari wants. He stopped pacing, jaw tight. They want us scrambling. They want us to break formation. And they want you unguarded. So we do nothing? I hurled the words like a weapon. We just wait and hope he's alive? Mateo turned slowly. His gaze was firm, but the pain behind it was unmistakable. Lila. Adrian's not just our boss. He's our leader, our brother, our family. He swallowed hard. He trained us to protect what he values most. My chest cinched. And right now that's... me? Yes, Anna said softly. You. Tears burned hot in my eyes. I didn't ask for any of this. You didn't have to, Mateo said. He chose it. I didn't know whether that comforted me or crushed me. Before I could respond, the radio on Anna's belt crackled violently. A distorted voice burst through. Repeat. Contact made. Boss engaged. Multiple hostiles. Anna's eyes widened. Mateo snatched the radio from her belt. Who is this? Report! Static, shouting, gunfire. Then a more unmistakable voice. One of Adrian's perimeter men. Mateo, he's alive! My knees nearly buckled. He's fighting his way out. Viscari underestimated him. He took out 3 on his own. Mateo let out a breath of relief, but the soldier wasn't done. But... The room froze. But he's injured. A sharp, hollow ache shot through my chest. What do you mean, injured? I cried. How bad? The radio crackled again. We're trying to extract him now. He won't leave without the target. Mateo's head snapped up. Target? What target? You know damn well, Hart. The man shouted over gunfire. They want her alive. They said she's the key to... The transmission cut into static. Mateo swore under his breath. Anna clapped a hand over her mouth. I felt like the ground gave way beneath me. They're expecting Adrian to bring me, I whispered. That's why they took Ethan. Why did they threaten him? Why are they still coming? Mateo nodded grimly. It's leverage. Viscari only takes what they plan to use. I felt sick. If they get me, Adrian will come for me. And he'll die doing it, Mateo finished quietly. Anna put a hand on his arm. We need a plan. Yes, I said suddenly, standing despite the pain tearing through my ribs. We do. Anna and Mateo stared at me. I wiped my tears with the back of my hand, steadying my breath, centering myself. No more waiting, I said. No more hiding. No more letting other people fight my battles. Mateo frowned. Lila. No, I said firmly. I'm not asking permission. Anna blinked in surprise. Mateo's brows pulled together. "You're injured," he said. "You're not trained. You're not prepared for what's out there." "You think I don't know that?" My voice rose. "You think I don't understand the danger?" I stepped closer, meeting Mateo's gaze head-on. "But he's out there risking his life because of me." My voice cracked. "Because he believes I'm worth protecting." Mateo exhaled slowly. "You are." "Then let me prove it." Silence filled the safe room, thick and heavy. Then Mateo shook his head. Adrian would never allow it. A weak smile ghosted across my lips. "I don't think he gets to choose this time." Anna stepped forward, eyes narrowing thoughtfully. "What are you suggesting?" I took a breath. "A trade." Mateo looked horrified. "Absolutely not." "Hear me out," I said. "Viscari wants me. Fine. Give them what they want, on my terms." "Lila, no." "Mateo," I said, voice steady and quiet. "If I don't go to them, Adrian will come for me. And he will die. And so will you. And Anna. And every guard in this house." Mateo's jaw flexed painfully. I lowered my voice. "But if I walk in willingly, I buy him time. I change the rules. I force their focus onto me, not him." Anna swallowed. "You don't know what they'll do to you." "No," I whispered. "But I know what they'll do to him if I don't." Silence. Then Mateo cursed quietly, pacing again. I waited, heart pounding. Finally he stopped and looked at me. "Adrian is going to kill me," he muttered. "That means you agree?" "I agree you're insane," he said, "but also that you're right." Relief washed over me. Anna stepped closer, gripping my hand tightly. "We won't let them hurt you," she said. "Not for a second longer than necessary." "Good," I whispered, "because I'm not doing this to die." I lifted my chin. "I'm doing this to save him." Mateo exhaled. "Fine, but we do this my way." He slammed a new magazine into his pistol. "Gear up, we're leaving in 10 minutes. My pulse raced. My fear spiked. But beneath it, burning steady and fierce, was something new. Purpose. Adrian Romano walked into hell for me. Now I was walking into hell for him. And God help anyone who tries to stop me. The mansion was transformed in minutes. Calm, expensive hallways that once smelled of cedar and quiet power now pulsed with urgency. Guards sprinted between rooms. Weapons were checked and loaded. Vehicles repositioned. Radios crackled with clipped orders. And at the center of it all was me. Mateo stood in front of me, his face carved from stone as he examined the bulletproof vest he insisted I wear. "This is too big for me," I said, voice shaking slightly. "It's the smallest we have," Mateo muttered. "We weren't exactly expecting to armor a 5'5" civilian today." "I'm 5'6", I corrected softly. "Not tonight, you're not," he said gruffly. Anna stepped closer, tightening the straps around my ribs with careful fingers. I sucked in a sharp breath as pain flared. She paused immediately. "Sorry," she whispered. "No, it's okay," I lied. "Just keep going." Because pain didn't matter. Fear didn't matter. Comfort didn't matter. Only one thing mattered now. Adrian. When the vest was secured, Mateo stepped back. His expression flickered. Something between respect, disbelief, and dread. "You sure about this?" he asked. "No," I whispered honestly, "but I'm sure about him." Mateo nodded once, accepting the answer even if it terrified him. "Then we do this fast," he said, "clean, no hesitation." He jerked his chin, signaling the rest of the team. "Move out." They walked me through the mansion's back exit, where a black SUV idled with its doors open. The night air was cold, sharp, smelling of rain and asphalt and something electric. Anna squeezed my hand before I climbed in. "If anything goes wrong," she said, "you drop to the floor and stay down. We cover you." "Promise me," I whispered, voice trembling. "You won't let them use me to hurt Adrian." Anna's eyes softened and hardened. "I'll die before I let that happen." My chest tightened painfully. "Don't say that." "It's not a threat," she said. "It's a vow." Before I could respond, Mateo tapped the roof of the SUV. "Let's go." The convoy pulled out into the night, engines roaring low, headlights off, moving like a silent wave of shadows down the narrow service road. Inside the vehicle, my hands wouldn't stop shaking. "Take deep breaths," Mateo said from the front seat. "Slow, don't hyperventilate." "I'm not—" I sucked in a breath too fast. "Okay, maybe I am." "It's normal," he said. "Fear keeps you sharp. Panic gets you killed." Comforting. I stared out the window as city lights blurred by. Neon signs, empty alleyways, closed shops. Everything looked different now. This wasn't the city I used to walk through. This wasn't the life I used to have. And the person I used to be, she never would have survived tonight. Mateo's radio crackled suddenly. "Team Alpha, you in position?" "Copy?" a distant voice responded. "Bravo team, weapons ready." "Affirmative." "Viscari movement?" "Static." "Then—" "They know we're coming." My heart dropped. Mateo didn't flinch. "Let them know. Doesn't change a thing." He glanced at me in the rearview mirror. "You're not going anywhere near them unless I say so. Understood?" "Yes." "And you don't speak to anyone except me?" "Yes." "And you stay behind cover until I—" "Yes, Mateo," I cut in. A faint smirk cracked his severe expression. "You're getting better at this." "I'm not trying to," I muttered. "You're still doing it." My stomach twisted. Is Adrian still alive?" Mateo's grip on the steering wheel tightened. "He's fighting," Mateo said. "That's all we know." Fighting. Injured. Alone. I clenched my fist so tightly my nails dug into my palms. "Just hold on," I whispered to the empty night. "Please, just hold on." 20 minutes later, the SUVs rolled into an abandoned dockyard. Empty shipping containers stacked like crooked metal tombstones. Lights flickered overhead. Waves crashed somewhere in the distance. It felt like the entrance to the underworld. And Viscari was waiting. A cluster of armed men stood near a rusted warehouse. Ethan was among them. His wrists were bound. His face was swollen and bruised. His eyes were frantic. Behind him, behind them all, was the unmistakable figure of a Viscari capo. Tall, elegant, cold, smiling like a man who enjoyed pain the way others enjoyed fine wine. They had expected us. They had expected me. Mateo parked the SUV at a distance and turned to me. "This is it," he said quietly. "Once you step out, there's no turning back." I nodded. "Remember," Mateo said, "you walk toward them, slow, steady, no fear, while we provide cover. We get a visual on Adrian's location. We do this clean." "And if Adrian is there?" I whispered. Mateo's eyes darkened. "Then we bring him home." I took a breath. 1, 2, opened the door, and stepped out into the night. Every Viscari soldier turned toward me, guns lowering slightly, interest sharpening. The capo's grin widened. "Well, well," he said, voice carrying through the cold air. "The girl who started a war." My blood ran cold. Ethan stumbled forward. "Lila, don't come any closer. They're going to—" "Quiet," the capo snapped, shoving Ethan to his knees. I forced myself to keep walking. Mateo's instructions echoed in my head. Slow, steady, no fear. But fear was all I felt. "Where is he?" I demanded, raising my voice despite the tremor. The capo's smile widened. "Ah," he said, "the king's little obsession." My heart hammered. "Where is Adrian?" He stepped aside, gesturing into the shadows behind him. And that's when I saw him. Adrian, on his knees, hands tied behind his back, blood down his temple, shirt torn, breathing hard, alive, but barely. My vision blurred. "Adrian!" His eyes lifted, storm gray, fierce even in pain, and locked onto mine. "Lila," he rasped. The capo chuckled darkly. "Bring me the girl," he said, "and the king lives." I froze. This was the moment. "The trade." Adrian shook his head violently. "No, Lila, don't—" A gun slammed into the back of his skull, dropping him forward. I screamed. Mateo shouted for position. Guns were raised on both sides. The world held its breath, and I did the only thing I could. The thing Adrian never expected. The thing Viscari never prepared for. I stepped forward and said, "Take me, let him go." The dockyard erupted. Men shouting, weapons raised, chaos unfolding. And Adrian, bleeding and furious, roared my name like it was the last word he'd ever speak. The moment the words left my mouth, "Take me, let him go," Adrian snapped. He lunged forward despite his restraints, fury igniting his entire body. "Lila, no!" His voice cracked, raw, hoarse, terrified in a way I had never heard from him. 2 Vescari men slammed him back to the ground, one pressing a boot against his spine. He groaned, breath knocked from him, blood staining the concrete under his cheek. My heart stopped. "Stop!" I shouted. "Don't hurt him, please!" The Vescari capo lifted a hand and his men froze. He stepped toward me with a predator's calm confidence, one hand smoothing his immaculate suit jacket. Up close, his smile was all venom. "You see?" he said, voice silken and cruel. "This is what your king doesn't understand. Power is not earned. It is given." He tilted his head. "And you just gave it to me." Behind him, Adrian thrashed against the weight of the man restraining him, teeth clenched, eyes blazing. "Lila," he rasped, "if you take one more step, I swear." But the capo cut him off with a vicious kick to his ribs. Adrian gasped, curling inward. I screamed, "Stop!" The capo turned back to me, amused. "You really do care for him. How inconvenient." He snapped his fingers. 2 men approached me. Matteo cursed behind me, voice low and furious. "Lila, do not let them touch you. We have snipers in position. One signal and we—" The capo raised his hand again, and a laser dot appeared on Matteo's forehead. My blood turned to ice. "Lower your weapons," the capo called out smoothly, "or your friend dies first." Matteo didn't move, but his jaw locked, muscle ticking angrily. One of the Vescari soldiers grabbed my arm, yanking me forward. I stumbled, pain shooting through my ribs. "Don't touch her!" Adrian roared. It didn't matter. They dragged me closer until I stood just a few feet from Adrian, close enough to see the blood dripping from his temple, the bruise forming along his jaw, the fire in his eyes burning bright despite everything. "Lila," he said, voice rough. "I told you to stay away. Why didn't you listen?" "Because you're all I have," I whispered. "And I can't lose you." His breath shuddered. Something in his eyes broke. But before he could speak, the capo crouched beside him and grabbed a fistful of Adrian's hair, yanking his head back. "You hear that, Romano?" the capo murmured. "She came for you. Walked straight into hell for you. How very poetic." Adrian spat blood at his shoes. The capo laughed softly. "You still think you hold the advantage, even now." Then he turned to me. "Come here." Every instinct screamed not to. But Adrian locked eyes with me, pleading, devastated, furious but terrified for me, and my feet moved on their own. The capo cupped my chin, tilting my face toward him like he was inspecting a piece of jewelry. "You're pretty," he mused, "but not worth a war. So tell me, girl, why is Romano so obsessed with you?" I ripped my face from his hand. "Ask him." The capo smirked. "Oh, I already know why. Power makes men sentimental, weak." He stepped back, surveying us. "Here are the terms," he announced. "You go with me. You stay with my family for a time." Adrian shook his head violently. "No!" The capo continued as if he hadn't spoken. "And in exchange, your king walks free." Adrian growled. "Over my dead body." "Easily arranged," the capo replied. "Don't," Adrian warned, voice trembling with rage. "Don't take her." The capo faced me again. "You want him to live? Say it. Say you'll come with us willingly." My heart hammered so loudly I thought it would burst from my chest. I looked at Adrian. His expression shattered me. Pain, fear, desperation, and beneath it all, a rising terror that had nothing to do with him. "Lila," he whispered, voice breaking, "please don't do this." Tears blurred my vision, but I stepped forward anyway. "I'll go." Adrian's face twisted in agony. "No!" The capo grinned triumphantly. "Good girl." The moment he reached for me, a sound cracked through the air. A single gunshot. For a split second, time froze. Then one of the Vescari guards collapsed, blood spraying across the pavement. "Sniper." Matteo shouted, "Go! Now!" Chaos exploded. Gunfire erupted from every direction. Guards dove for cover. Vescari soldiers scattered. The capo cursed, shoving me behind him as a shield. But Adrian surged up with impossible strength, slamming into him. They both went down hard. "Lila, run!" Adrian roared. A bullet whizzed past my ear. I stumbled backward as 2 men grabbed me, but Matteo appeared like a storm, tackling one and shooting the other point blank. He grabbed my arm. "Move!" "No, I can't leave him." "We'll get him, go!" I looked back at Adrian. blood on his face, fighting despite being half-conscious. Rage and desperation carved into every line of his body. His eyes locked onto mine. "Lila!" he choked out. "Please, go!" A grenade exploded nearby, shaking the dock. I screamed, but Mateo dragged me behind a container, bullets ricocheting off metal. "Keep your head down," he roared. I crawled behind cover, gasping, heart tearing out of my chest as chaos erupted around us. Smoke, gunfire, shouting, pain, and Adrian, somewhere in the storm, fighting for his life, fighting for me. Then, amid the chaos, a scream ripped through the night. Adrian's. My blood froze. "Adrian!" Mateo grabbed me, arms like iron bands. "Lila, don't!" But it was too late. I ran straight toward the sound, straight toward death, straight toward him. Because if Adrian Romano fell tonight, I would fall with him. I didn't feel my feet hit the ground. I didn't feel the cold night air or the gunshots tearing through it. All I felt was terror, sharp, blinding, as I sprinted toward the sound of Adrian's scream. "Adrian!" My voice ripped out of me, raw and desperate. Mateo shouted behind me, "Lila, stop, don't..." But nothing could stop me now. If Adrian was dying, if he was being taken, if that final cry was the last sound he'd ever make, I wasn't going to let it happen alone. I rounded the corner of a shipping container and froze. Because the scene in front of me wasn't death, it was war. Adrian was on the ground, struggling against 2 Viscari soldiers pinning him. Blood ran down his face, staining his collar, dripping onto the concrete. His breaths came in ragged bursts, but his eyes were fire. The capo stood above him, gun raised, expression calm, almost satisfied. "This is what happens," the capo said slowly, "when a king forgets he is mortal." He cocked the hammer. "No!" I screamed, sprinting forward. Adrian's head jerked up, panic flooding his features. "Lila, no, get back." Too late. The capo grabbed me by the arm, yanking me against him, my back to his chest, his gun now pressed to my temple. Chaos froze. Adrian let out a sound I'd never heard from him. Not anger, not pain, but something primal, guttural, soul deep. "Don't touch her!" The capo smirked. "Look how he breaks." He forced my chin up with the barrel of the gun. "Did you really think offering yourself would save him, sweet girl?" He clicked his tongue. "You are the weapon, not him." I shook violently, but forced myself to speak. "Let him go. You got what you wanted." "Oh no," the capo said softly, "not yet." He pressed the gun harder against my skull, my vision blurred. Adrian thrashed against his captors. "Let her go!" His voice cracked, desperate, raw. The capo leaned down, lips near my ear. "You want to know why your husband gave you up so easily?" he murmured. "Why did he trade you like a spare part?" I stiffened. "Because he believed Romano would burn his entire empire for you, and he was right." He angled my head so Adrian was forced to watch. "This is how kings fall," the capo said. "Not by blade, not by bullet, but by love." Adrian froze. Completely. The capo pulled back the trigger. I closed my eyes. "This is it. This is how I die. This is where it ends." Then, crack, gunshot. Warmth splattered across my cheek. The capo's grip went slack. His body jerked and collapsed at my feet. I gasped, stumbling away as his corpse hit the ground. A single bullet clean through the skull. I turned, trembling violently. Mateo stood behind me, gun still smoking, face pale but steady. "Don't ever," Mateo panted, "threaten my family." Before I could breathe, before relief could settle, chaos erupted again. The capo's men screamed as they fired wildly. Mateo shoved me behind a container as bullets tore through the air. Adrian surged up from the ground, fury giving him strength. He head-butted one of his captors, knocking the man out cold, and grabbed the gun from the other. He fired 3 shots, precise, deadly. The remaining Viscari soldiers fell. Silence crashed down. My pulse thundered. Smoke drifted across the dockyard. Bodies lay scattered. Mateo emerged, breath ragged. Anna and Adrian's men rushed forward, securing the perimeter. But all I saw was him, Adrian, weak, bleeding, swaying slightly, but alive. He dropped the gun and took a step toward me. "Lila." My name broke from him like a prayer. I ran. I didn't think, didn't hesitate, just ran straight into him, into his arms, into the chest that rose and fell with labored breaths. He caught me with a soft, pained groan, pulling me tight against him even though his body trembled from exhaustion. "Don't ever," he whispered, voice shattered, "ever do that again." "I thought you were dying," I cried. "I thought—" He cupped my face with shaky hands, forehead pressing to mine. "I'm not dead." A breath, and I swear, as long as I'm breathing, no one will take you from me. My tears fell into his palms. His thumb brushed them away. "But Lila," he whispered, voice breaking, "you can't barter your life for mine. I can't survive that. Do you understand me?" I swallowed. "And I can't survive losing you." He froze. Those storm-gray eyes softened in a way I had never seen. Not in violence, not in crisis, not in the heat of confrontation, but in vulnerability. Slowly, his fingers slid to the back of my neck, drawing me closer. "I walked into hell," Adrian murmured, "because they took you." "And I walked in," I whispered, "because I couldn't live with you gone." He closed his eyes, voice trembling. "Lila, don't say things like that unless you mean them." "I do." His breath hitched, and then he kissed me. Not gently, not cautiously, but fiercely, like a man coming back from death, pouring everything he had into the one thing still holding him together. Me. My hands gripped his torn shirt. His arms tightened around my waist. The world fell away. The bodies, the blood, the danger. For a moment, there was only us. When he finally pulled back, foreheads touching, his voice was a rough whisper. "This isn't the end," he said. "It's the beginning." And I believed him, because nothing about us, about this night, could go back to the way it was. Something had changed. Forever. The moment our lips parted, reality rushed back in. Gunpowder in the air, blood on the concrete, moans of injured men. Mateo was shouting orders. The world hadn't paused for our kiss, but it felt like I had. Adrian steadied himself against me, breath uneven, eyes still burning with the remnants of fear and fury. His hand stayed at my waist, as if letting go would mean losing me again. "Adrian," I whispered, brushing a cut along his cheek. "You're hurt." "And you," he murmured, cupping my face again, ran straight at a man with a gun. "I thought you were—" "Don't say it," he warned gently. "Not now." He tried to straighten but stumbled. I caught him instinctively, even though he was twice my strength and probably 3 times my weight. "Easy," Mateo said, rushing to Adrian's side. "Boss, you need medical attention, now." "I'm fine," Adrian muttered. "You're half dead," Mateo snapped. "Shut up and let us fix you." Adrian tried to argue, but a cough racked through him, blood flecking his lips. My heart lurched. "Adrian," he lifted a hand, wiping it away like it meant nothing. "Just a cracked rib. Maybe 2. 3, Mateo corrected, and a concussion." Anna, who had arrived beside us, frowned deeply, and possible internal bleeding. Adrian gave her a hard look. "You're not helping." Anna ignored him. "We need to get him back to the mansion." But Adrian's gaze snapped to Ethan, still bound, bruised, kneeling near the warehouse. His voice chilled. "Not until he is dealt with." Ethan trembled when Adrian approached, eyes wide with panicked recognition. "Adrian, please. I didn't know. I never meant for—" Adrian didn't raise his voice. He didn't need to. "You worked with Viscari," he said quietly. "You fed them information. You offered them leverage. You gave them her." Ethan's eyes darted to me. "Lila, baby, you know me. You know I would never—" "Stop!" I snapped. The sharpness in my tone surprised even me. Ethan froze. "You don't get to say my name. You don't get to call me anything." He looked shattered as the realization struck him only now, after everything. "Lila," he said softly, "you don't understand. I thought if I gave them what they wanted, they'd leave us alone. I thought—" "Us?" I said bitterly. "There was never an us. You beat me. You left me to die. You used me." Ethan flinched. Adrian stepped between us, shielding me instinctively. "You made one mistake," Adrian said coldly. "You thought she was weak." Ethan's voice cracked. "Please, please don't kill me." Adrian's jaw tightened. Not with cruelty, but with restraint. "Lila decides," he said. The words hit me like a tidal wave. Me, I whispered. Yes, Adrian said softly. You choose his fate. Ethan fell forward crying. Please, Lila, mercy, please. I swallowed and stepped around Adrian to face the man I once married. I will not kill you, I said. Ethan sobbed in relief. But I will never forgive you. His shoulders sagged. And you will never see me again. His eyes widened. You can't. I can, I said calmly, and I will. I glanced at Mateo. Cut him loose. Send him out of the city, permanently. Mateo nodded. Adrian watched me with something like awe. Not pride, not satisfied. Something deeper, something softer. The moment Ethan was dragged away, Adrian turned back to me, swaying on his feet. The adrenaline holding him upright was fading. His knees buckled. Adrian! I lunged to catch him. Mateo grabbed his other side. He sagged between us, eyes closing, breath shallow. I'm okay, he muttered. You're not, I said fiercely. You're barely standing. His eyes opened halfway, finding mine, locking onto me through blurred vision. But you're safe, he whispered. My throat tightened. That's all that matters. His hand lifted weakly and brushed my cheek before falling limp. Adrian, I breathed. Adrian! Anna rushed over. He's losing consciousness. Get him to the car. Mateo lifted Adrian as if he weighed nothing. Move, he barked. I ran beside them, heartbreaking with every step, because the man who walked into hell for me was now unconscious in Mateo's arms, bleeding and broken. And for the first time since I'd met Adrian Romano, I was genuinely terrified that I might lose him. We sped through the night, Mateo driving like the devil himself was behind us. Anna worked to stabilize Adrian in the back seat, her hands trembling despite her calm instructions. Stay with me, boss. Stay with me. Adrian didn't respond. I held his cold hand in both of mine, pressing my forehead to the back of it. Adrian, please, I whispered through tears. I'm right here, don't leave me now, not after everything. His fingers twitched faintly, but his eyes stayed closed. And as the mansion came into view, flooded with lights, guards rushing to open the medical wing doors, a terrible truth settled in my chest. The war might be over, but Adrian's life, the life he risked for me, hung by a single fragile thread, and I wasn't ready to lose him. Not now. Not ever. They rushed Adrian into the mansion's private medical wing, a place I didn't even know existed until tonight. Bright surgical lights, sterile air, blood on the tiles. Mateo carried Adrian straight onto the operating table while Anna scrambled for supplies, shouting orders at the medical staff. Adrian kept on retainer. He looked small there, not the man who commanded a room, not the king who struck fear into crime families, not the protector who held me like I was the only thing he couldn't lose. Just Adrian, broken, bleeding, barely breathing. Hook him up to oxygen, Anna barked. We're losing time. My heart punched my ribs. I tried to follow them in, but Mateo blocked the doorway with his arm. You can't be in here, he said firmly. Please, I whispered. Don't make me leave him. Mateo's face was hard, but his voice softened. You're not leaving, he said. You're waiting right outside. He guided me to a bench across from the operating room. My legs gave out as soon as I sat. Through the glass window, I watched them cut away Adrian's blood-soaked shirt, attach monitors, and insert an IV. His chest rose unevenly under the oxygen mask. Anna pressed her hands to an open wound on his side. Another medic stitched a gash on his head. Machines beeped in frantic rhythms. I pressed my shaking fingers to my lips. Please, I whispered. Please don't die. For the first time since I left Ethan, I prayed, not to any god I knew, but to whatever force had placed Adrian in that alley the night I needed him most. Footsteps rushed behind me. I didn't look up. Someone sat beside me. Warm fingers wrapped around my own. It was Anna. Her face was tired, pale, streaked with blood that wasn't hers. Is he? My voice cracked. He's fighting, she said quietly. He always fights. But is that enough? I asked, tears spilling down my cheeks. Anna exhaled shakily. Tonight, it has to be. I stared at the glass, at the frantic movement around Adrian. I didn't mean for this to happen, I whispered. I thought if I gave myself up, he'd be safe. Anna squeezed my hand. You walked into a war zone for him, she said softly. You didn't start this, but you might be the thing that ends it. I shook my head. I'm no one. Anna smiled sadly. Not to him. Another medic rushed in. The door swung open briefly, revealing a clearer view of Adrian's face. Pale, bruised, but unmistakably him. The door shut again. My chest tightened. I can't lose him. Anna's expression softened. When he wakes, you should tell him that. If, I whispered. You said when. Anna angled my face toward hers. With Adrian, she said quietly. It's always when, never if. Before I could fall apart again, the door burst open, and Matteo strode out, blood on his hands and shirt. My heart seized. Matteo? I whispered. What's happening? He sat heavily beside me, elbows on his knees, hands covering his face. He coded, he said hoarsely. Twice. I stopped breathing. Anna grabbed his arm. Is he stable? For now, Matteo said, voice cracking. But he lost a lot of blood. Too much. The hallway blurred. Tears streamed down my face uncontrollably. But the doctor thinks if he makes it through the next hour... The next hour? I choked. That's so long. Matteo's eyes shone, with fury, grief, guilt. He kept asking for you. My breath caught. What? Before he passed out. Every time he woke up, Matteo said. He called for you. Something inside me shattered open. I covered my mouth with my hand and sobbed into it, my shoulders shaking violently. Anna wrapped her arm around me. You need to be strong now, she murmured. He needs you to be strong. I'm trying... My voice broke. I'm trying so hard. At that moment, the door swung open again. This time, the lead surgeon stepped out, removed his gloves, and looked grave. No, not this. All three of us stood as he approached. Doctor, Matteo said, voice desperate. Tell me he's alive. The surgeon exhaled slowly. He survived the surgery. My knees buckled. I almost collapsed, but Anna caught me. But, the surgeon continued, he hasn't regained consciousness. His vitals are unstable. He's in a coma. A soft, broken sound escaped my throat. A coma. Those words felt like a knife sliding into my chest. Matteo stepped forward. How long? We don't know, the surgeon said. Hours, days, weeks. It depends on whether he continues to fight. Can I see him? I whispered, barely audible. The doctor hesitated. Matteo didn't. She sees him. The doctor nodded reluctantly. One person. Keep it brief. Brief. How do you condense everything you feel into brief? Anna helped me to my feet, guiding me toward the doorway with trembling steps. As I entered the room, the beeping machines hummed softly. The bright surgical lights had been dimmed. Adrian lay on the bed, pale against the white sheets. His chest rose slowly but shallowly. His lips were slightly parted. His hair was mussed from the fight. He looked peaceful. He did not look like a man who had nearly died for me. I approached slowly, every breath painful. When I reached the bedside, my hand trembled as I touched his cheek. His skin was warm. Adrian, I whispered, please come back to me. I sank into the chair beside him, holding his hand in mine. My tears fell onto his knuckles. You kept your promise, I whispered. You came back to me. A tear slid down my cheek. Now keep the other one, I murmured. The promise he made when he kissed me. The promise that terrifies me now. This isn't the end. It's the beginning. Come back, I whispered, forehead against his hand. Come back and let it begin. His fingers twitched. Barely. I gasped, sharp, fragile hope blooming, but his hand went still again. The machines beeped steadily. He did not wake. Adrian, I whispered again. Nothing. Behind me, Matteo stood at the doorway, shoulders shaking. Anna wiped silent tears from her eyes. None of us spoke. None of us moved. We just stayed there, waiting, praying, hoping, for a man who had fought every battle except this one, the one I couldn't help him win, the one only he could choose to survive. And in that quiet, agonizing moment, I realized something undeniable. I wasn't just afraid of losing Adrian Romano. I was in love with him. I didn't sleep. Not for a second. I stayed in that chair beside Adrian's hospital bed, holding his hand as my life depended on it. Maybe it did. Perhaps everything that mattered to me now was lying unconscious beneath the soft glow of the monitors. His chest rose and fell in shallow, uneven breaths. Every beeping sound sent a tremor through my spine. Mateo and Anna stayed in the hall, rotating guard shifts, refusing to leave the immediate area unless someone else took their place. Adrian's inner circle arrived one by one, silent, grim, wounded, but no one dared speak above a whisper. Because their king had fallen, and they didn't know if he would rise again. Hours blurred. Morning arrived with pale light streaming through the windows. It did nothing to warm the cold coil in my stomach. A doctor came in, checked his vitals, made notes, and adjusted his IV. "His body is strong," she said gently. "He's fighting. Is there anything I can do?" My voice scratched. "Anything to help him?" Her eyes softened. "Talk to him," she said. "Sometimes the subconscious clings to voices it recognizes, people they care about." People they care about. My breath caught. She left, and the silence swallowed me again. I leaned forward and brushed a hand through Adrian's hair, pushing the strands back from his forehead. "Do you hear that?" I whispered. "You're supposed to care about me." A tear slipped down my cheek. "So you can't leave." I lifted his hand to my lips and kissed his knuckles gently. "You told me I wasn't trapped with you," I whispered. "But Adrian, please choose me. Awake, alive, standing." My voice broke. "So stand up." Time passed. The mansion was strangely quiet. No shouts, no footsteps, no laughter. Only the steady hum of machines and the occasional quiet sob from the hall. When Mateo finally stepped in, he looked exhausted. "Any change?" he asked quietly. I shook my head. Mateo approached the bed and stared down at Adrian with a look I'd never seen from him. Raw loyalty and grief. "Boss," he breathed, "you don't get to leave us. Not like this." I wiped my eyes. "How did you meet him?" Mateo's jaw flexed. "He saved me," he said simply. "Pulled me out of a life that was chewing me apart. Gave me purpose. Gave me a family." He swallowed hard. "Now it's my turn to protect him?" He glanced at me. "And yours?" I lowered my gaze. "I didn't expect him to become everything." "You didn't choose it," Mateo said softly. "Sometimes fate doesn't ask." I opened my mouth to respond, and the door creaked open again. A young soldier stood there, breathless. "Mateo, we have a problem." Mateo straightened. "What now?" "It's Viscari," the soldier said. "The capo you killed had brothers. They're gathering forces. They think Adrian's death is inevitable, and they want to strike before we reorganize." My stomach dropped. "Death?" I whispered. "He's not—" The soldier raised a hand quickly. No, sorry. Poor phrasing. They think he won't wake up soon enough to stop them. They want revenge." Mateo cursed under his breath. "When?" "Tonight." Anna entered behind him, face pale. "What do we do?" Mateo rubbed a hand over his face. "We prepare. We call every ally we have, secure the mansion perimeter, activate all contingency defenses." "And Adrian?" Anna asked. Mateo's gaze flicked toward the bed. "He'd want us to fight." "No," I said suddenly. Both of them stared at me. "No fighting," I repeated, standing slowly. "No more blood. No more escalation." "Leela," Mateo said gently, "this isn't a choice. If they attack us—" "They're attacking because they think Adrian is vulnerable," I said. "Because they think he's dying." "So?" Mateo asked. I took a breath. "So we make them believe he isn't." Anna blinked. "You want to pretend he's awake?" "Yes," I said, voice steady. Mateo shook his head. "Leela, they're too smart for that. They have spies. They'll know." "Not if the message comes from someone they fear," I said. And then I looked at Adrian. His hand in mine, his presence is like gravity. "They fear him," I said softly. "But they don't know him as I do. They don't know his voice from mine, his commands from mine." Anna's eyes widened with realization. "You want to impersonate him?" "Yes." Mateo stared. "You can't." "I can," I insisted. "I've heard him give orders. I know how he speaks, and I know how he wants his enemies to feel." "Terrified," Mateo said. "Exactly." Anna stepped closer. "But the risk—" "Adrian risked everything for me," I said. Now my voice shook, but not with fear, with conviction. "I won't let his world burn while he's unconscious." Mateo studied me for a long time, Then he nodded once. I'll get you a phone, and the list. Anna touched my shoulder. Are you sure? I looked at Adrian. Bruised, broken, but fighting. Yes, I whispered. For him. They gave me the encrypted phone Adrian used only for enemies, alliances, and threats. Matteo brought a chair to the center of the room, facing the window, so I could see the mansion grounds lit up like a fortress. He placed the phone in my hand. The moment they believe Adrian's alive, Matteo said, the attack stops. They won't risk war with him. My chest tightened. What do I say? Matteo hesitated. Then, you speak like a king. My hands trembled. But I dialed the number anyway. The Vescari contact answered immediately. Adrian Romano is dying, he sneered. Your house will fall tonight. I cut him off. Calm, cold, lethal. Rumors of my death, I said in Adrian's exact cadence, are a costly mistake. Silence. Sharp and absolute. The man inhaled slowly. Boss, I continued, voice steady as steel. You come near my home tonight, I said, and I will not bury you. I will display you. Anna's breath caught. Matteo's eyes widened. I pressed on. You forgot what it means to challenge a king, I said. Let me remind you. The enemy swallowed loudly. What do you want? He asked, voice cracking. Peace, I said, or annihilation, your choice. A trembling pause. Peace, the man breathed. Please. I ended the call. My entire body shook. Matteo stared like he was seeing a ghost. Or a queen, Anna whispered. My God. I turned back to Adrian. I protected your kingdom, I whispered, brushing his cheek. Now you protect yourself. And for the first time since he collapsed, a breath shuddered through his chest. A stronger one. His fingers twitched again. Matteo gasped. Lila, look! I looked. Adrian's eyelids fluttered. His lips parted. And with a weak, broken voice, he whispered my name. Lila. My heart split open. Adrian, I choked, grabbing his hand. I'm here. His eyelids lifted, heavy, slow, revealing storm-gray eyes dulled by pain but alive. Alive. He exhaled. Did you do what I think you did? He rasped. My lips trembled. Yes. A faint, painful smile tugged his mouth. That's my girl. And then he drifted back into unconsciousness. But this time, I wasn't afraid, because Adrian chose to wake up, and now nothing would stop him from standing again. Not even death. Adrian woke slowly. Not with violence, not with struggle, but with the quiet, deliberate breaths of a man clawing his way back to the world for one reason only. For me, I sat beside him when his eyes finally opened fully, not in confusion or panic, but in awareness, in recognition, in purpose. His hand twitched toward mine. Lila. His voice was gravel and silk, worn thin but unmistakably his. I leaned closer, tears already gathering again. I'm here. I never left. He blinked slowly, adjusting to the light, to the room, to the fact that he was alive. How long? He rasped. 2 days, I whispered. You scared everyone half to death. He gave a faint, pained smirk. I scare everyone half to death regularly. Despite everything, I laughed, a soft, broken sound of pure relief. His expression softened as he studied me. What did you do? He asked. Not accusing, not angry, curious, respectful. I protected your kingdom, I said, voice steady. His brows raised slightly. You did? Matteo stepped into the room, exhaustion lining his face but pride brightening his eyes. She did, he confirmed. Boss, she impersonated you. Adrian slowly turned his head toward Matteo. Come again? She threatened Vescari leadership like a seasoned warlord, Matteo said. They believed you were alive and ready for blood. They retreated. Anna, who entered behind Matteo, added, She saved us all. Silence settled. Adrian's gaze returned to me. You did that? He sounded almost reverent. I swallowed, fingers tightening around his. You told me once that strength isn't the absence of fear. It's standing despite it. And you stood, he murmured. For you, I said. Adrian closed his eyes briefly, as if steadying himself against the weight of that truth. When he opened them again, something raw and unguarded gleamed there. Lila, he whispered. I would have died out there if I thought you were still in danger. You saved my life before the surgery ever did. My breath stilled. Adrian! No, he said softly. Listen. He lifted a trembling hand and rested it against my cheek. When I saw you walk toward Vescary, I broke, he admitted. I have never known fear like that. Not for myself, but for you. A tear slid down my cheek. He caught it with his thumb. You walked into fire for me, he said. No one has ever done that. But you did it first, I whispered. His lips curved faintly. You were worth it. The room grew impossibly quiet. Even Matteo and Anna seemed to hold their breath. Adrian's thumb traced the edge of my jaw. I told you once I don't want a woman who stays out of fear, he said. I want one who stays because she chooses me. I leaned into his hand. I choose you. His breath hitched. Even after what my world did to you? He asked softly. Yes, I said. Because you aren't your world. You're the man who carried me out of an alley when you didn't have to. The man who protected me when I had nothing left. The man who fought for me even when he could barely stand. A tear slid down his temple, the only one I'd ever seen from him. And I choose you, he whispered. Not as leverage, not as territory, not as someone to control. He swallowed hard, but as the woman who walked into war to bring me home. My chest tightened painfully. Adrian! He pulled my hand to his lips and kissed it gently, reverently, as if it were the first soft thing he'd touched in years. Stay, he said quietly. Not because you need safety, but because you